Chapter 301. It's time to set off. The moment the voice echoed in the air, Zhao Kai's eyes instantly widened in shock. A sharp, pricking sensation surged within him, as though 1,000 needles had suddenly pierced his heart. When exactly had this happened? The enemy had appeared behind him without his notice. How absurd. Zhao Kai, with a deep breath, questioned himself. As a cultivator at the 6th stage of nascent soul, how had he allowed someone to get this close without detection? Nevertheless, even in the face of such a shock, Zhao Kai reacted instinctively, immediately summoning his life-bound magic treasure. A small tower shot into the air. At once, a swarm of flying swords erupted from within, filling the sky like a rain of locusts. The flying swords within the tower ranged in quality. Some were merely inferior-grade magic tools, while others reached the level of inferior magic treasures. Xianxia the Novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. When such a massive number of swords were unleashed, they truly resembled a meteoric downpour, striking down like a thunderous storm. This was his life-bound magic treasure, Divine Sword Tower. Jing Kong, Jing Hui, and Jing Xian could not help but be astonished as they witnessed this spectacle. They had long heard tales of the power of Zhao Kai's magic treasure. It was said to contain over 1,000 flying swords, each one a weapon taken from defeated cultivators, magic tools and magic treasures alike. The Divine Sword Tower itself was a unique magic treasure. The greater the number of flying swords it contained, the more formidable its power became. The three had long desired to witness it in action but had never had the opportunity until now. Today, their wish had finally been fulfilled. Jing Xian smiled. Once this treasure appears, the suddenly appearing cultivator will surely be no match for Zhao Kai. Jing Hui nodded. Fellow Daoist Zhao has slain countless cultivators of the same realm. That person, too, will not stand a chance. Jing Kong agreed. The appearance of this person is merely a small interlude, it poses no real threat. However, Jing Ji and Wan Hun's expressions changed drastically as they watched this unfolding scene. The sheer number of flying swords was terrifying. If they had been the ones facing them, they would likely have been pierced through by 1,000 swords. Could Chu Xian withstand this? Chu Xian smiled faintly as the vast barrage of swords shot toward him. He raised a hand and, with a puff, expelled a mouthful of nascent soul essence. From the ground, a colossal ice pillar suddenly surged upward. Seeing this, Shi Juantian's heart sank in alarm. He immediately accelerated and retreated at full speed. Even he, with his cultivation, would need to avoid such a vast array of flying swords. How could Chu Xian dare to face it head-on with his magic, without evading? Clang! 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 A series of deafening metallic clashes rang out in mid-air. The flying swords collided with the ice pillar, their momentum halted as if they were drunken fools stumbling through the air. Yet, after a brief pause, they regained enough strength to continue their assault. As for the few magic treasure flying swords, they managed to pierce the ice pillar, but their speed was greatly slowed. Seeing this, Chu Xian reached out once more, and the ice pillar instantly shattered, transforming into a storm of ice shards. The shards filled the entire area within a radius of 20 zhang, scattering across every inch of space. As the flying swords shot toward him, they inevitably collided with the ice fragments in their path. The moment they became laden with too many ice shards, their speed would plummet drastically. Even the few strongest magic treasure swords were frozen in an instant, unable to advance or retreat, their movements completely halted. Zhao Kai's expression changed drastically upon witnessing this. His Divine Sword Tower, which could both attack and defend, had now been shattered by the enemy's spell. What kind of magic was this? Its power was beyond anything he had ever encountered. The faces of Jing Kong and the others also twisted in disbelief, as though they had just tasted something vile. They had expected a single strike to end the battle. But now, they had been outwitted instead. Shi Juantian's swift movement came to a sudden halt. He looked at Chu Xian with an expression of disbelief. How had he blocked it so easily? Chu Xian smiled faintly. What Zhao Kai and the others did not know was that his nascent soul essence had merged with the heavenly Tao Golden Lotus, greatly enhancing his power. Each breath of nascent soul essence he expelled amplified his spells immensely. Breaking through this divine sword tower was no challenge at all. Without hesitation, Chu Xian activated his teleportation technique. In the blink of an eye, his body shot forward, speeding directly toward Zhao Kai. To charge at me, you're seeking death. Zhao Kai sneered coldly, and with a sharp motion, he grabbed the air. The flying swords, frozen by the ice shards, suddenly let out mournful wails from within. Then, with a violent explosion, they shattered. Boom! 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 In a matter of moments, the hundreds of flying swords were reduced to countless fragments. The ice shards, too, shattered into even finer pieces, scattering across every inch of space. These shards of frost and broken flying swords swirled like a fog, obscuring all sight. Not only could Zhao Kai not see, but even Shi Juntian, Wan Hun, Xingji, and the others were blinded by the haze. Anxiety gripped the hearts of Shi Juntian and the others. How had this happened? Zhao Kai still had the means to self-destruct the flying swords. This person was truly capable of anything. These swords must have been accumulated over many years. And yet, he had been willing to destroy them all. Will he survive? Xingji and Wan Hun exchanged uneasy glances. After all, their fates were tied to Chu Xian's. If something were to happen to him, their own survival would be just as hopeless. Zhao Kai, his gaze fixed on the mist, retrieved yet another magic treasure. This was a set of small flags. Without hesitation, he threw them into the air. 36 flags fell around the mist-covered area. In an instant, the spiritual energy within the region grew chaotic and disordered. Ice condensed into gas. Water liquefied into ice. Gas transformed back into water. The bizarre and erratic transformations dazzled the eyes. This was precisely what struck fear into the hearts of cultivators. Cultivators relied on spiritual energy as their foundation. When a nascent soul cultivator unleashed their spells, they connected to the world's spiritual energy, vastly amplifying their power. But if the surrounding spiritual energy was in chaos, then the power of their spells would be significantly weakened. They would become like a beast trapped in a cage, at the mercy of their enemies. Shi Juntian's expression shifted dramatically. The inverted chaos formation. He actually possesses this kind of killing formation. The inverted chaos formation was a top-tier killing array used by nascent soul cultivators. It could be carried at all times and activated whenever needed. Though its coverage was limited, its lethality was immense. Once the enemy was trapped within, it became an inescapable death trap. Shi Juntian immediately sought to channel his spiritual energy to break the formation Zhao Kai had set up. However, Zhao Kai would not allow him to interfere. With a casual swipe, he summoned another set of flying swords and hurled them toward Shi Juntian. Shi Juntian, already injured, found himself ensnared by the flying swords, unable to move any further. In his desperation, he spat out blood repeatedly. Humph, an outsider daring to interfere, wait for death. Zhao Kai, expertly multitasking, manipulated the flying swords to entangle Shi Juntian while simultaneously urging the inverted chaos formation to disrupt the spiritual energy within the mist. However, before the formation could fully take shape, two sharp beams of cold light suddenly shot out. They struck and sent two of the small flags flying. The inverted chaos formation was destabilized and could not fully form. An overwhelming surge of cold energy poured from the mist, engulfing the entire area where Zhao Kai, Shi Juntian, and the others stood. Within this icy domain, it was as though one's hand could not be seen in front of one's face. Such chilling cold. Zhao Kai's expression changed instantly. This was undoubtedly the power of a top-grade magic treasure. Where is he? Where? Zhao Kai scanned the surroundings, reaching for his remaining magic treasures. But to his shock, he found none left to use. No magic treasures left? Then it's time to set off. A cold, mocking laugh echoed from behind him. In the next instant, two invisible, chilling hands smashed into his sea of consciousness. Chapter 302, Mystic Azure Star has fallen into the hands of our divine sect. Plus, turn off reset. Chapter 302 Mystic Azure Star has fallen into the hands of our divine sect. In that instant, Zhou Kai felt as though his skull was being torn apart, painfully and forcefully. Something massive and ice-cold was shoved into his head, filling every inch of his mind. The excruciating cold froze his thoughts, leaving him unable to think, his very mind paralyzed. Great devouring palm. Chu Xian raised his hand once more. A massive spiritual palm descended, overwhelming Zhou Kai. Zhou Kai's spiritual sense was immediately refined and absorbed by it. The inner furnace refining method continuously transformed them into Chu Xian's own spiritual power, further strengthening his soul. Zhou Kai struggled to maintain a sliver of clarity in his will, trying to escape with his nascent soul. But Chu Xian had long been prepared. The sky-tearing cold palm grasped down with ferocity, easily seizing Zhou Kai's nascent soul. With a casual flick of his wrist, Zhou Kai's physical body was thrown into the myriad realms mirror and sent crashing to Blue Star. Chu Xian still planned to use the soul search technique to delve into Zhou Kai's memories, so he refrained from killing him, for the moment. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the winds roared. The mist dispersed. Shijun Tian and the others focused, only to find that Zhou Kai had vanished completely, leaving Chu Xian standing in his place. Shijun Tian let out a long breath, and his gaze towards Chu Xian softened, filled with awe. No wonder this person could suppress Wei Ji and the others at once. He was truly formidable. If he could kill Zhou Kai, then eliminating him would be no more than a trifling task. He was glad he had been cautious and hadn't turned against this person. Otherwise, he would be the one lying dead. Shijun Tian quickly stepped forward, cupped his hands, and said, "Fellow Daoist, your strength is truly impressive." "I, sure, am in awe." Chu Xian smiled. It was just a matter of luck encountering him. Shijun Tian couldn't help but laugh bitterly. "You defeated Zhou Kai by luck? What does that make me, then? Shouldn't I have been flattened under his fists?" Jing Kong, Jing Hui, and Jing Xian had been watching the battle intently. When they realized that Zhou Kai had completely vanished, their faces turned ashen. Zhou Kai, a sixth-layer nascent soul powerhouse, just like that, he was gone? The three of them were still at the early stages of nascent soul. If someone could kill Zhou Kai, how easily could he wipe them out? Compared to the shock and fear of Jing Kong and the others, Wei Ji and Wan Hun were filled with a sense of relief and excitement. Good, good, good. They had indeed chosen the right side. Though controlled by the parasitic worms, it had been worth it. With Zhou Kai's death, the feather transformation heaven palace would crumble like a mountain collapse. Victory was within reach. In the future, they would undoubtedly receive the rewards of the heaven-shaking divine sect. Jing Kong, Jing Hui, and Jing Xian exchanged a glance, and without hesitation, turned and fled. "Leave it to you. Let's also go to Flying Thunder Valley." Chu Xian waved his hand, signaling the four arms, who, and longed to catch up and assist Wei Ji and Wan Hun. If he had to personally deal with a nascent soul early-stage cultivator, then there would be no point in leaving anyone else alive. They might as well be dead. At Golden Thunder Mountain, within the formation. Bai Jingkuan, Fu Peng, Chao Moran, and Wan Wuing had all witnessed the battle. Their hearts remained unsettled for a long time. Fu Peng swallowed, his voice hoarse. How could Lin Fan possibly engage with the deputy palace master of the feather transformation heaven palace? Could it be that he's actually a nascent soul cultivator? Chao Moran rolled his eyes. After all this, you still don't understand? You should be addressing him as senior, not by name. Fu Peng quickly covered his mouth, his face filled with horror. Bai Jingkuan, hearing their exchange, couldn't help but feel a sense of smug satisfaction. What they had only just realized, he had known all along. It was the pride of one who had already discovered the secret. Wan Wuing stared at the four arms soaring through the air, a look of astonishment in his eyes. He remembered the day on the extraterritorial battlefield at the Great Chasm, When the cultivator who called himself Huikong from the Golden Dragon Temple had killed the genius Yun Zhongyu of the Reincarnation Divine Church. On that day, he had watched from afar as Huikong deployed 2 ghost kings. It was especially the 4 arms that left a deep impression on him. Its appearance now was identical to the one he saw today. However, Huikong had been a master at raising ghosts. This person, though, had a corpse king as well. Generally speaking, devil cultivators would focus on one path alone. It was rare to find someone who excelled in raising ghosts, refining corpses, and breeding parasitic insects. Such a genius, one who was proficient in all these aspects of the devil's path, was an incredibly rare find. But Wan Wuing knew very well, there was no such person as Huikong. The Huikong of Golden Dragon Temple had been a mere foundation establishment cultivator and had long been killed by his former disciple, Chu Xian. This person's true identity was still a mystery, but he must be someone Wan Wuing knew. Who could it be? Wan Wuing vaguely had an answer. At Flying Thunder Valley, Jingji and Lu Ruoxue were under less pressure, and with the arrival of reinforcements from Golden Thunder Mountain, their victory was swift. It didn't take long before Qingqi and the others were killed. Only Duan Xiao saw the situation turning unfavorable and made an early escape, fleeing without a trace. Not long after, for arms, Hu and Long returned, carrying the corpses of several nascent soul cultivators. Chu Xian nodded in satisfaction. Not bad. Shijun Tian smiled. This victory is all thanks to fellow Daoist Lin's intervention. Without it, we would have been in danger, and the Divine Sect's grand ambitions would have been at risk. Chu Xian waved his hand. I am also part of the sect. It was only right. Wei Ji spoke seriously. Now that Zhao Kai and the others are dead, only the nascent soul cultivators of our faction remain on Mystic Azure Star. If we take advantage of this opportunity to seize the heart and foot of the formation, we can fully control the realm-protecting formation. At that time, we will be able to welcome the deity transformation cultivators of the heaven-shaking divine sect to occupy Mystic Azure. Shijun Tian nodded repeatedly. That is my intention as well. Please, everyone, immediately go to different parts of Mystic Azure to secure the formation's positions. Once everyone left, he turned to Chu Xian. Fellow Daoist Lin, would you be willing to assist me in securing the heart of the formation? Chu Xian smiled. That sounds great. He was the strongest, so it would not make sense for him to travel far to control the various formation nodes. Shijun Tian did not dare to issue such an order. Naturally, he would remain at the heart of the realm-protecting formation. More than 10 days later. The realm-protecting formation on Mystic Azure Star had completely fallen under the control of Chu Xian and his group. Beyond Mystic Azure Star, in the vast expanse of space, 2 elderly figures were locked in confrontation. One of them was Tiansong, the true master of the Reincarnation Divine Sect. The other was Blood Wine, true master of the Heaven-shaking Divine Sect. The two had been fighting for thousands of rounds, but there had been no clear victor. Tiansong spoke indifferently, leave. I cannot kill you, and you cannot defeat me. On Mystic Azure Star, the nascent soul cultivators under my Reincarnation Divine Sect outnumber yours. The realm-protecting formation will inevitably activate, and you won't be able to enter Mystic Azure. Search * the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Blood Wine True Master's expression darkened. The other deity transformation cultivators of the heaven-shaking divine sect each had their own tasks. Some were battling fiercely in the extraterritorial battlefield for rare treasures, while others had been stationed on other cultivation stars to guard against a surprise attack from the Reincarnation Divine Sect into the Divine Sect's heartland. Blood Wine True Master's objective was Mystic Azure Star. However, Tiansong was notoriously difficult to deal with. He had repeatedly tried to bypass Tiansong and enter Mystic Azure before the realm-protecting formation was fully activated. But Tiansong was an expert in the art of splitting his consciousness and creating avatars. Every time, at least one of his avatars would block Blood Wine True Master's path, preventing him from making any progress. As the two continued to face off, Blood Wine True Master suddenly received a transmission. After listening to the Chapter 303, the biggest contributor Xianxia's brows furrowed deeply as he turned his gaze behind him. Sure enough, the realm-protecting formation had already been activated. And it was radiating a thick, ominous blood-red glow. He immediately tried to contact Zhao Kai and the others through transmission. But every attempt seemed to sink into an abyss, with no response at all. Xianxia's heart sank to the bottom. What is this? I've been battling here, and now there's a fire burning in my own backyard? How is it that so many nascent soul cultivators can't deal with the demonic cultivators from Northern Cold? What have they been doing this whole time? Blood Wine True Master, grinning, taunted, look at what you've been protecting. Even now, you're still not leaving? Xianxia's face darkened, and with a final glance, he commanded a flying shuttle to swiftly disappear into the distance. The realm-protecting formation had fallen into the hands of the enemy. With the formation fully activated, it was powerful enough to resist the combined efforts of 2 deity transformation cultivators. There was no need for him to stay any longer. Blood Wine True Master laughed loudly, his figure heading toward Mystic Azure Star. On Mystic Azure Star, in the central continent, on Spirit Feather Island, Chu Xian and his group were waiting in the Grand Hall. As the strongest cultivator, Chu Xian held the highest position of honor, seated at the far left. Behind him were Wei Ji, Lu Ruoxue, Xing Ji, and Wan Hun. Seated at the far right were Shijun Tian and several nascent soul cultivators from the Heavenly Blood Alliance. The cultivators of the Heavenly Blood Alliance had arrived via the ancient teleportation array provided by the commercial star. They had managed to delay many nascent soul cultivators from Northern Cold in the eastern border. Without their help, the pressure on Chu Xian and the others would have been far greater. In addition to the nascent soul cultivators, many golden core cultivators stood respectfully by. Wan Wuying, Bai Jingkuan, and others all stood quietly, not daring to slack off in the slightest. However, Wan Wuying's gaze repeatedly drifted toward Chu Xian. Because the current Chu Xian had shed all his previous disguises, revealing his true identity. He was the same junior brother Wan Wuying had known, the one who had disappeared all those years ago. At that time, during the chaos, Wan Wuying and Chu Xian had seized the battle token and successfully made their way to the extraterritorial battlefield. But Chu Xian had fallen in the western part of the battlefield, where he was swarmed by a horde of nether crocodiles and had vanished without a trace. Wan Wuying had always believed that Chu Xian had died. But now, after so many years, Chu Xian had returned as a fully fledged nascent soul cultivator. He had even slain Zhao Kai, the substitute palace master of the Feather Transformation Heaven Palace, and made a tremendous contribution to the victory in this battle. Yet here was Wan Wuying, still a mere golden core cultivator, struggling to advance toward nascent soul. How many cruel jokes had fate played? The rise and fall of life truly felt like an endless roller coaster. Ha ha ha. Shijun Tian, you really did an outstanding job. I thought the cultivators from Northern Cold wouldn't be able to stop the Feather Transformation Heaven Palace, but not only did they hold their ground, they even turned the tables and took down the realm-protecting formation. Such a brilliant achievement. If this is reported back to the Sect, it will surely make the Sect leader happy for a long time. Shijun Tian, you're going to rake in a huge amount of contribution points for the Sect with this one. A loud, boisterous laugh rang out from outside the hall. Before the person even arrived, his voice had already filled the room. Everyone in the hall turned to look at the entrance, and immediately saw a stout yet short figure walking in. The man was wearing only a tiger skin vest slung over one shoulder, and his attire looked as if he had stepped out of an ancient era. Around his waist were 4 wine gourds and a storage pouch. His wrists and ankles jingled with blood-red bells, but despite the noise they would have made, not a single sound came from them as he walked. It was Blood Wine True Master. He laughed heartily as he walked into the hall, his gaze falling immediately on Shijun Tian. A satisfied smile spread across his face. Shijun Tian quickly stood up and immediately said, "Blood Wine Uncle Master, it wasn't me." Blood Wine True Master burst into another round of hearty laughter. If it wasn't you, then who was it? You're at the 6th level of nascent soul, and you're the personal disciple of Bloodwing True Master. Who else could have pulled off something like this? Sure, Juantian's face showed signs of discomfort. Bloodwine Uncle Master, really, it wasn't me, it was. Bloodwine True Master's smile faded into a displeased frown. You brat, stop being so humble. It's boring. I rarely praise anyone, so just accept it. Keep on with your nonsense, and I'll tear your mouth off. Sure, Juntian quickly fell silent. Because the Bloodwine True Master was exactly the type to carry out such threats. The Bloodwine True Master strode to the highest point, cleared his throat, and adopted the dignified air of a senior expert. Everyone here has made great contributions in the Mystic Azure War. On behalf of the Divine Sect, I thank you all. However, even though the Mystic Azure Star is now under our control, we must remain vigilant against the shameless sneak attacks from the Reincarnation Divine Sect. Starting today, we will be establishing a brand new 5th-tier cultivation sect on Mystic Azure. As for the few of you from the Heavenly Blood Alliance, you'll be heading back for now, and that is that. You, the juniors, will be the core figures of this new sect. As for the name of this new sect, feel free to choose, but Feather Transformation Heaven Palace is off the table. It's simply too ugly. Once the sect is established, it will be protected for 500 years. Should any practitioner reach the deity transformation stage during this time, the Divine Sect will officially recognize it. The Bloodwine True Master waved his hand dismissively. Alright, let me see the list of merits from this battle. I need to take it back to report to the Divine Sect. The rewards will be distributed to you soon enough. Sure, Juntian hastily stepped forward, handing over a jade slip imbued with spiritual sense. The Bloodwine True Master pressed it to his forehead. After a long pause, he suddenly jumped up. Those who killed Qingqi, Chu Xian. Those who delayed the dragon puppet, Chu Xian. Those who killed Zhao Kai, Chu Xian. The greatest contributor to the Mystic Azure War, is still Chu Xian? Who is Chu Xian? The Bloodwine True Master's gaze swept over the crowd, astonished. Chu Xian cupped his hands in salute. Senior Bloodwine, I am Chu Xian. The Bloodwine True Master immediately furrowed his brows and extended his spiritual sense, scanning with intent. Chu Xian made no attempt to block it, standing calmly in place. His myriad realm mirror had long fused with his body. Search *thenovelier.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. As a deity transformation cultivator, the Bloodwine True Master might have some difficulty detecting the presence of the myriad realm mirror. As for the rest, Chu Xian had little to hide. Most of his secrets were concealed within the myriad realm mirror, in the blue star, the soul star, and the cave world. And it was precisely because he knew the Bloodwine True Master would scrutinize him so thoroughly that he allowed his disguise to fall away completely. After all, the other party was a deity transformation cultivator. To attempt any concealment, any change of appearance would only anger him. If he had offended a deity transformation cultivator from the very beginning, how could he expect to survive in this shaking heaven-divine sect? Not bad, young man. From the moment I felt your spiritual chi, I could tell you're a proper cultivator of the demonic path. TSK, and you even have impressive physical refinement. The Bloodwine True Master found nothing amiss and nodded in satisfaction. Thank you for the praise, Senior, Chu Xian smiled. Sure, Juntian whispered, Uncle Master, see? I told you it wasn't me. Ahem, my mistake, just pretend you didn't see it. The Bloodwine True Master cleared his throat nonchalantly. The others kept their eyes focused on their own matters. Fine. You're a deity transformation cultivator. If you say you didn't see anything, then we won't mention it. Chapter 304, Let It Be Named, Heavenly Infinite Sect Plus, Turn Off Reset. Chapter 304, Let It Be Named, Heavenly Infinite Sect is a deity transformation cultivator. Bloodwine True Master had no need to be involved in the specific affairs of Mystic Azure Star. After receiving the list of achievements, he promptly departed. The detailed matters would be left for the nascent soul cultivators, like Chu Xian, to handle. The nascent soul cultivators chatted enthusiastically, each suggesting a name for the new sect. Shijun Tian turned toward Chu Xian, smiling, and said, "Fellow Daoist Chu, do you have any ideas for the name of our new sect?" Chu Xian furrowed his brow, deep in thought. Numerous names for sects flashed through his mind, but in the end, he calmly spoke, "Let it be called Heavenly Infinite Sect." Heavenly Infinite Sect was a name that carried deep personal meaning for him. It was a tribute to the Infinite Sect, the place where he first began his journey. As the strongest among them, his decision was final, and no one voiced any objections. Shijun Tian continued, "I suggest that fellow Daoist Chu become the first sect leader of the Heavenly Infinite Sect. Does anyone have any objections?" The others all responded in unison, "We have no objections." Chu Xian didn't decline. The strongest should naturally have the most authority and access to the greatest resources. Of course, he accepted the position of sect leader, but he intended to delegate the day-to-day management to others. It was important to allow the younger cultivators to gain experience and grow. After all, the Heavenly Infinite Sect was just starting and was still in its infancy. If he handled every single detail himself, how could the other cultivators develop? He hoped they would understand his well-intentioned approach in the future. Soon, all traces of Feather Transformation Heaven Palace were erased. Spirit Feather Island was renamed Infinite Island. The news that Heavenly Infinite Sect had replaced Feather Transformation Heaven Palace spread across every inch of mystic Azure star, stirring up a storm. In the southern wilderness, Yuan Zichu, Wu Daolong, and Zhu Yuqiao gathered together in a cave residence. The table was covered with a variety of spiritual food, and there were 3 jars of aged wine, one of which had already been opened, filling the room with a rich, intoxicating aroma. SAR the novel, IR.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. A single sniff was enough to make one's heart race and soul stir. Wu Daolong raised his cup and toasted Yuan Zichu. "Yuan, my old friend, looking back at our time on the battlefield, I truly owe you my life. If you hadn't rescued us, Zhou and I wouldn't have made it back to Mystic Azure. Now, you've received this earth-shattering news and still shared it with us at the first opportunity. I'm deeply grateful." As he spoke, he couldn't help but raise his cup again in high spirits. Yuan Zichu smiled. "It was no trouble at all, Wu. There's no need to be so polite." Zhu Yuqiao sighed, but who could have imagined that such a massive power as Feather Transformation Heaven Palace would ever be replaced? Yuan Zichu chuckled. "The cycle of rise and fall is an unchanging law of the universe. There is no eternal dynasty, and no sect is truly immortal. Feather Transformation Heaven Palace being replaced by Heavenly Infinite Sect, it's unexpected, but also inevitable." He took a bite of food and continued, "Now that Heavenly Infinite Sect is in its infancy and rebuilding, it will undoubtedly need talent. We should head to Central Continent as soon as possible, we'll surely be given important roles." Wu Daolong laughed heartily. "Exactly. Xiaoer is a Golden Core level formation master, you are a Golden Core level talisman master, and I am a half-baked puppet master. When the 3 of us go to Zhou, our future will be bright. Come, let's drink." "In the past, every time we drank, you always tried to avoid it, Yuan. This time, you have to drink to your heart's content." Yuan Zichu glanced at Zhu Yuqiao without leaving a trace, then immediately raised his cup. All right. Today, I'll drink with Wu to my heart's content." He took a big gulp of wine, but half of it dripped from the corner of his mouth. Before it could touch the table, it evaporated silently, disappearing without a trace. A while later, Wu Daolong's face was flushed red. With a loud thud, he collapsed at the table. Zhu Yuqiao covered her mouth and giggled, then reached out to pull Yuan Zichu's sleeve. "Yuan, you really are bold." Yuan Zichu smiled. "It's all the more flavorful this way, don't you think?" Zhu Yuqiao laughed playfully, her cheeks flushed with a lovely pink glow. "So, where shall we exchange insights on the formation way this time?" I've already warmed up the pill furnace, Yuan Zichu said with a meaningful smile. You rascal. The room was filled with a light, cheerful atmosphere. A similar scene played out across mystic Azure. The rise of the Heavenly Infinite Sect and the replacement of Feather Transformation Heaven Palace meant a significant reshuffling. For many cultivators, this was a massive opportunity. Whether they could seize this moment and climb the ranks depended on their own abilities. Soon, cultivators from all over mystic Azure flocked toward the Heavenly Infinite Sect. Such trivial matters were left to people like Xingji and Wan Hun to handle. There was no need for Chu Xian to worry about them. He had already returned to Blue Star to assess the gains from the mystic Azure battle. Such a pity. Why did Feather Transformation Heaven Palace not have any hidden treasure locations? Wouldn't it make sense for them to have a secret vault prepared for a future resurgence? After reviewing Zhao Kai's memories, Chu Xian couldn't help but shake his head. He had intentionally spared Zhao Kai's life, hoping to find some unexpected treasure in his memories. It turned out that not every sect was prepared for danger or had secret vaults ready. Zhao Kai's physical body was handed over to Huan Long, while his soul was absorbed and refined by Chu Xian using the inner furnace refining method. Of course, Zhao Kai's lifespan wasn't neglected either. His final blow was entrusted to the Life Ghost, who managed to siphon away 20 years of Zhao Kai's remaining life. It wasn't that Zhao Kai had only 20 years left to live, but rather that the Life Ghost could only take a maximum of 20 years. To drain Zhao Kai's entire remaining lifespan would require more than just a simple ghost, it would take something far more powerful. Zhao Kai's storage bag contains quite a few good items, Chu Xian mused. This inverted chaos formation is a real treasure. He continued to go through the items. And here's a top-tier magic treasure, Iron Peak Mountain, which combines offense and defense. Too bad the other magic treasures are all destroyed. He sighed, somewhat ruefully. Being too strong can be a problem. I end up breaking my own treasures. He thought for a moment and then shrugged. It wasn't his fault. If anyone was to blame, it was Zhao Kai and the others for resisting so fiercely. It was a shame, though, to lose such good treasures. Ah, a great spirit stone. Chu Xian's eyes gleamed as he continued searching. Great spirit stones are typically used in transactions by deity transformation cultivators. I can't believe Zhao Kai had some. He carefully examined the stones. 30 great spirit stones in total, each one the size of a fist. They were crystal clear, sparkling with a radiant glow. They were far more perfect than medium spirit stones. Normally, one great spirit stone could be exchanged for 100 medium spirit stones, but few people actually did that. Instead, many would trade 120, 130, or even 140 small spirit stones for just one great spirit stone. The reason for this was simple. The spiritual qi contained in a great spirit stone was extremely pure. Many cultivators faced the problem of depleted spiritual qi during battles. To restore it, they either had to take medicinal pills or use spirit stones. However, pills were expensive and typically saved for emergencies. The majority of cultivators used spirit stones to replenish their spiritual qi, and the purer the spiritual qi inside the stone, the better. Chapter 305, Some People Are Meant to Die, Such as Life Plus, Turn Off Reset. Chapter 305, Some People Are Meant to Die, Such as Life. In this regard, great spirit stones were certainly far superior to medium spirit stones. Moreover, great spirit stones had fewer impurities and their spiritual qi was far purer, making them the ideal energy source for formations. With these 30 or so great spirit stones, Chu Xian would be able to trade with other nascent soul cultivators in the later stages. This dryland earth dragon puppet isn't bad, but the current refinement method can't fully bring out its potential. I'll find time to refine it again, it could be a decent combat asset, Chu Xian mused as he examined the puppet, nodding in satisfaction. Wait, what's this? Black nether falcon's flesh? He noticed a jade box at the bottom of Qingqi's storage bag. Inside was the lifeless body of a black nether falcon, roughly the size of a palm. The falcon had clearly been dead for some time, but the box was engraved with a formation that maintained the falcon's physical condition, preventing it from decaying. This was clearly a juvenile black nether falcon, still in its early stages of growth. Chu Xian couldn't help but wonder how Xianxia had acquired it. Most likely, it was meant for body refinement purposes. Seems like it's my lucky day. Chu Xian was overjoyed. He quickly retrieved the dead black nether falcon and placed it into the psionic cube. As expected, the feathers on the surface of the black nether falcon began to shed immediately, and its body slowly began to transform. Eventually, it turned into a small, pink, square-shaped meat block. Chu Xian cut off a small piece and was pleasantly surprised. His initial judgment had been right. The vitality contained in the black nether falcon's flesh was far more abundant than that of the nether crocodile's flesh. He quickly stored the remaining pieces away and then retrieved another storage bag. This one had been brought back by blood wine from the heaven-shaking star, which was the home of the heaven-shaking divine sect. Inside were treasures granted by the sect. When Chu Xian had first made a request to blood wine, he had casually asked for 2 top-tier magic treasures, 2 peak nascent soul-tier secret methods for spirit sense, 5 top-tier nascent soul-tier talismans, and a vial of spirit-refining liquid that would definitely arrive within 100 years. He had made the request rather boldly, not expecting the heaven-shaking divine sect to actually honor it. But to his surprise, the heaven-shaking divine sect had kept their word. The contents of this storage bag were what blood wine had given him a list of before he set out, with Chu Xian personally selecting items from the list. Of course, Chu Xian had slightly altered his request. He no longer needed new secret methods for spirit sense, as he already had plenty. What he really wanted were more magic treasures to refine and upgrade. As for the excess items, he had no use for them, so they were converted into sect contribution points, which he could redeem for whatever he needed later. Rubbing his hands together, Chu Xian opened the storage bag. Inside, there were only a few items. A pale white token. A small, pitch-black tower. A block of ancient beeswax. A crimson crystal nearly as tall as a person. And 7 talismans imbued with powerful energy. Let's first talk about the white bone token. The front of the token was carved with an imposing hall made entirely of piled white bones. The back depicted a giant skeletal hand reaching up from deep underground, as if trying to tear down the very sky. This was the identity token of the heaven-shaking divine sect. Now that the Infinite Sect was a 5th-tier sect under the banner of the heaven-shaking divine sect, Chu Xian, as the sect leader, was naturally entitled to an identity within the heaven-shaking divine sect. However, as a nascent soul cultivator, he was not yet qualified to become an elder, only eligible to serve as a steward. This was a steward token. Chu Xian poured his spiritual sense into the token, immediately imprinting his own spirit sense upon it. The token was actually a fine magic treasure in its own right, equipped with various functions such as sound transmission, heating, cooling, insect repelling, and emergency summoning. As he probed deeper, he saw a number glowing within the token, 1000. This number represented sect contribution points within the heaven-shaking divine sect. 1 contribution point was roughly equivalent to the value of 1 great spirit stone. 1000 contribution points, Chu Xian muttered. Not much, but not too little either. If there's ever an opportunity, I'll definitely visit the heaven-shaking divine sect's main mountain gate. As a 6th-tier sect, the resources they have stored, cultivation techniques, secret methods, magic treasures, pills, talismans, everything must be of the highest quality. He carefully stored the identity token and shifted his attention to the next item. This was an unusual, jagged black tower. The item was called the Heavenly Corpse Tower, and it was a top-tier magic treasure. The corpse tower he had used before was only a magic tool, which had proven insufficient to handle the growing number of corpses he was collecting. When he had seen this particular item listed, he had eagerly chosen it. The Heavenly Corpse Tower was larger and contained stronger qi, making it ideal for corpse refining. It also had defensive capabilities, unlike the regular corpse tower, which only served to nurture corpse puppets and store bodies. Additionally, the heavenly corpse tower came with its own corpse refining pool. From now on, there would be no need for Chu Xian to dig pits and mix medicinal fluids manually. With just a thought, the heavenly corpse tower would automatically perform all necessary actions. Then there was the ancient beeswax. It looked corroded and blackened, almost as if it would soon start to emit a foul odor. However, this was the beeswax of the ancient nether bees. Although the beeswax appeared small and fragile, it was incredibly tough, harder than steel. Even a top-tier attacking magic treasure would be unable to destroy it. Chu Xian planned to incorporate this beeswax into his blood hive. Doing so would not only enhance the quality of the blood hive but would also likely increase its overall capabilities. Next, there was the deep crimson crystal, which was taller than a person. Blood seemed to flow within its depths, constantly emitting a sweet, pungent scent. This crystal was called Blood River Crystal and was a rare product from the Blood River Star. The crystal could only be extracted from the deepest part of the Blood River, where mortal beings could not venture. Even Foundation establishment cultivators were barely able to retrieve it. This item was extraordinarily valuable. Any magic treasure infused with Blood River Crystal would gain the ability to absorb blood, including the blood of the living. Once refined into the evil soul chain, this crystal would not only allow it to bind souls but also absorb blood, adding a powerful new ability. Additionally, the quality of the chain might rise from being a top-tier magic treasure to becoming a peak magic treasure. So many treasures. Chu Xian grinned widely, the glint of greed flashing in his eyes. I need to refine them quickly and turn them into usable combat power. He settled into a meditative state and began the process of refining each item one by one. Search the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Upon hearing the report brought by his subordinates, Wen Ling Tian couldn't help but frown deeply. Mystic Azure Star was conquered by the heaven-shaking divine sect in such a short time? He turned to look at Situ Kong, asking, Situ, do you know what happened on Mystic Azure Star? Situ Kong's expression was grim. Reporting to Ancestor, I too am unaware. To be cautious, I even passed on the method to craft the Dryland Earth Dragon puppet to Zhao Kai. Yet, Zhao Kai and the others still failed. Wen Ling Tian furrowed his brows but remained silent. Ancestor, what should be done with Mystic Azure now? One of his subordinates asked in a low voice. Wen Ling Tian shook his head. The struggle for control over the battlefield is the top priority. Mystic Azure Star being lost is no great concern. The subordinate was taken aback. But there are still many righteous cultivators on Mystic Azure Star fighting desperately. If we abandon Mystic Azure, wouldn't that mean we are abandoning them as well? Situ Kong cast him a glance and spoke coldly, those who hesitate when the time to act comes only bring disaster upon themselves. Mystic Azure Star's fate is sealed. The remaining righteous cultivators on Mystic Azure Star are still resisting the demonic path. While their courage is commendable, it does not warrant the Sect's intervention. Some people are meant to die. That is the way of life. The subordinate sighed deeply. Understood. With just a few words, Wen Ling Tian had already decided the fate of the stubborn righteous cultivators still resisting on Mystic Azure Star. Wen Ling Tian's voice was calm. Mystic Azure Star can be abandoned, but we must find out how. Chapter 306, If I Die, Bury Me in the Extreme Cave of Zhou, Southern Wilderness Plus, Turn Off Reset. Chapter 306, If I Die, Bury Me in the Extreme Cave of Zhou, Southern Wilderness on Blue Star. Chu Xian stood before the hulking form of the Dryland Earth Dragon corpse, a satisfied smile on his face. After using several tons of corpse-repairing potion, he had finally brought this beast to life. You'd better not disappoint me. Otherwise, all that effort would have been for nothing, Chu Xian muttered to himself, snapping his fingers. The Dryland Earth Dragon corpse began to stir, its movements initially stiff, but soon it was moving with ease. Bang! With a powerful push from its legs, the dragon corpse leapt out of the massive pit with a force that caused the ground to shake. It felt as though a minor earthquake had just occurred. Roar! The Dryland Earth Dragon corpse opened its mouth and let out a roar that reverberated through the heavens. The sound of its dragon's roar echoed across the sky, while flames shot from its mouth, soaring into the clouds. People several dozen kilometers away could see the fiery eruption clearly, and many were shocked and awestruck. However, the members of Black Blade were unperturbed. They remained as calm as ever, as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened. This vast blue star was protected by immortals, so what could possibly go wrong? If it was a tiger, it would have to lie down. If it was a dragon, it would have to quail. Whatever demons or monsters appeared, the end result would always be the same: they'd become the immortal's beloved pet. At that moment, Chu Xian was already mounted on the dryland earth dragon corpse. He immediately felt a dense spiritual aura surrounding him, as the earth's spiritual energy enveloped his body. Without warning, the dryland earth dragon corpse burrowed into the ground. The soil and rock split apart on their own as the creature tunneled below. Though it was dark, Chu Xian could still sense the flow of the earth's energy, thanks to the corpse's earth-burrowing abilities. Having refined the dryland earth dragon corpse, Chu Xian now shared some of its capabilities. This speed is incredible. It's even faster than my ice crystal divine light escape. Chu Xian exclaimed, impressed. The dryland earth dragon corpse was a master of earth-based evasion, able to appear suddenly and deliver devastating surprise attacks. Unfortunately, this creature couldn't fly. If it could, it would completely replace flying magic treasures. While others would soar on flying swords or knives, Chu Xian would ride his own dragon corpse. How domineering that would look. Whoosh! The dryland earth dragon corpse suddenly leapt again, reappearing by the vast, endless expanse of the East Sea. Chu Xian patted the dragon's massive head with a smile. Not bad. You need a name. You'll be called Dalong. The dryland earth dragon corpse remained silent. Despite its king-level strength, it lacked a mind of its own. It could only carry out the simplest, most basic commands driven purely by instinct, commands like attacking, defending, or retreating. For more delicate actions, such as breathing fire or swinging its tail, Chu Xian had to exert his spiritual sense to control it. Naturally, the dryland earth dragon corpse didn't react to the name Chu Xian gave it. In the future, I might be able to implant a demonic beast's soul into this thing to act as a pilot, Chu Xian mused. But that method? I haven't learned it yet. He paused for a moment before his eyes lit up. Wei Ji's technique for creating wooden puppets is impressive. Maybe I can apply that to control the dryland earth dragon corpse. A smile appeared on Chu Xian's face. As the sect leader of the Heavenly Infinite Sect, it would be a simple matter to request the method from Wei Ji. Surely he would comply. Take care, sect leader. Feel free to come by again whenever you need anything. Wei Ji smiled broadly as he sent Chu Xian off. But once the sect leader had left, his expression fell, and he sank down onto the steps of his cave residence. That was my most prized wooden puppet. Wei Ji muttered under his breath. Chu Xian, you. He fumed with resentment, but when he thought about the terrifying way Chu Xian had killed Zhao Kai, all of his anger instantly evaporated. He's right to take the puppet technique, it's for the good of the sect, Wei Ji muttered, trying to convince himself. Yes, yes. As a nascent soul elder of the Heavenly Infinite Sect, I must always consider the sect's interests first. He sighed, trying to push his frustration aside. Later that night, atop Infinite Island, Chu Xian and Wan Wuing raised their cups, toasting to the moon. However, before they could take more than a few sips, Wan Wuing's face suddenly changed. Sect leader. He forced a smile. With the gap in our strength so large, do you really have to poison me? Chu Xian clicked his tongue, looking apologetic. Sorry, I acted too quickly. Wan Wuing stared at him in silence. Chu Xian tossed a storage pouch toward him. This is the item I promised you. Wan Wuing opened it to find a soul-breaking spike. His eyes immediately brightened. Thank you, sect leader, Wan Wuing said respectfully. Chu Xian nodded. The soul-breaking spike was a spiritual tool required by golden core cultivators to break through to the nascent soul realm. It no longer held much value for Chu Xian, but since he had promised Wan Wuing, it was only right to keep his word and give it to him. Search *the@fire.at website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. You're at the 7th level of Golden Core, right? Chu Xian asked casually. Yes, that's correct. Then keep working hard and strive to break through to nascent soul before your lifespan runs out. Wan Wuing forced a smile. It's not that simple. A single soul-breaking spike only increases the success rate by 1 or 2%. But right now, I don't have any other opportunities to obtain nascent soul tools. If I have no choice, I'll have to use this needle to force my way into the nascent soul realm. Success or failure, it all depends on fate. Chu Xian snapped his fingers casually, and Wan Wuing immediately felt a strange emptiness inside his body. Now that the Heavenly Infinite Sect is under the protection of the Heaven-shaking Divine Sect, we are no longer master and servant, Chu Xian said. I've removed the insect eggs from Wei Ji, Lu Ruoshui, Xingji, Wan Hun, and the others. Yours has been removed as well. Don't stress when trying to break through to nascent soul, Chu Xian continued. If it doesn't work, at least try to form a fake nascent soul. With that, Chu Xian stood up. Wan Wuing remained silent for a long while before finally speaking. If I die and my path ends, please bury me in the Extremine Cave. Alright, I promise you, Chu Xian nodded. Wan Wuing then rose, bowing respectfully. I bid you farewell, sect leader. Chu Xian didn't turn around and continued walking away, leaving Wan Wuing standing there. The elder's expression darkened with melancholy. From being master and disciple, to once being senior brother and junior brother, to now, with Wan Wuing as a nascent soul cultivator and Chu Xian having surpassed him as a golden core cultivator, he had watched Chu Xian grow stronger and faster, to the point where the gap between them was now insurmountable. Chu Xian sighed lightly to himself. The moment Wan Wuing had called him sect leader, a thick, sad barrier had fallen between them. In the path of cultivation, power and rank always took precedence. Now, with their vast difference in cultivation realms and statuses, it was only natural that Wan Wuing could no longer call him by name. My dear master, my senior brother. I hope you can succeed in your breakthrough to nascent soul, Chu Xian thought. Without hesitation, he walked away. 3 years had passed in the blink of an eye since the fall of Mystic Azure Star. Cultivators from all over Mystic Azure had flocked to the central continent. Soon, the Heavenly Infinite Sect held its first grand recruitment ceremony. The ceremony was held on the massive plaza of Infinite Island. The square was packed with excited young disciples, their faces filled with anticipation. These were the chosen spiritual seedlings selected from all over the central continent to join the Heavenly Infinite Sect. Only those with superior spiritual roots could qualify for cultivation in the Heavenly Infinite Sect. As the sect leader, Chu Xian could not simply sit back and relax, even though he wished he could. He had to be present for such an important event. Sitting beside him were Shijun Tian, Wei Ji, Lu Ruoshui, Xingji, Wan Hun, and the other sect elders. That little child looks a bit familiar, Chu Xian remarked, his eyes falling on a chubby, tiger-faced boy. Chapter 307 Discipleship Ceremony. Wei Ji laughed when he heard Chu Xian's words. Those children are all from the southern wilderness. Sect leader, you're from the southern wilderness too, right? Perhaps you know some of them. Chu Xian's interest was piqued. At once, Bai Jingkuan swiftly ran down to bring the child up to the stage. Search the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The chubby-faced boy was clearly startled that he was being brought up before the elders. Though Chu Xian and the others had concealed their nascent soul auras, the pressure from their decisiveness and authority still made the child struggle to breathe. Chu Xian smiled kindly. Child, what's your name, and where do you come from? The boy blinked his big eyes, awkwardly bowing before he replied seriously, reporting to the sect leader, my name is Huang Feihu, from the Huang family of Whitewater City, Wu Province, Southern Wilderness. Chu Xian raised an eyebrow. Some distant memory surfaced in his mind. The Huang family. Who's your ancestor? He suddenly asked. Huang Feihu respectfully answered, "My ancestor's name is Huangyan, a foundation establishment cultivator." Wei Ji and the others couldn't help but chuckle at the response. A foundation establishment cultivator. In the eyes of a mortal child, such a title could easily be considered a great cultivator. Chu Xian nodded slightly. No wonder the boy's face seemed familiar. Now that he thought about it, he could see the resemblance. Huang Feihu looked almost exactly like Huangyan. Huangyan had once been his subordinate, gathering intelligence and aiding him considerably. Later, Chu Xian sent him some foundation establishment materials, unintentionally giving Huangyan an opportunity to rise again. "So, how is Huangyan now?" Chu Xian asked. Huang Feihu's gaze dimmed slightly. "Ancestor. He passed away of old age some time ago. However, Ancestor worked hard throughout his life, cultivating many cultivators. Our Huang family in Baishui City is now a foundation establishment family." Chu Xian nodded thoughtfully. It had been an unintentional gesture, just giving Huangyan a chance. Yet, Huangyan had managed to revitalize himself, producing many descendants, despite his old age. Truly, the old steed never forgets its ambition. But, of course, Huangyan had grown old. Even after reaching the foundation establishment, his life expectancy wasn't long. It was rare for cultivators of higher realms to live out their full natural lifespan, despite their strength. The phrase, "passed away of old age," meant something quite different in their world. "What's your talent?" Chu Xian asked casually. "Reporting to the sect leader, I have a top-grade earth spiritual root," Huang Feihu said earnestly. Chu Xian smiled and nodded. "Very good. With such a talent, if Huangyan is watching from beyond, he will surely be pleased. Go now, train well, and don't disappoint the spirit of your ancestor in the afterlife." "Yes." Huang Feihu replied excitedly, his head bobbing eagerly. This was the sect leader of the prestigious Heavenly Infinite Sect, personally praising him. He couldn't believe it. He would certainly cultivate diligently and make his ancestor proud, contributing to the sect's greatness. Wei Ji and the others didn't say much. They were all clever people and could tell that Huangyan had been an old acquaintance of Chu Xian. Calling Huang Feihu up and asking a few questions was nothing more than a casual gesture. But, since there was this bit of old friendship involved, Huang Feihu's future in Heavenly Infinite Sect would likely go smoothly. No one would intentionally make things difficult for him. Bai Jingquan's eyes flickered as he spoke up, "Sect leader, this child is quite promising. I'd like to take him under my wing." Chu Xian smiled. "All right, then. I'll leave him to you." It was obvious to him that Bai Jingquan wanted to take Huang Feihu as his disciple because of the connection to Huangyan. After all, Huang Feihu was just a spiritual root candidate. Most foundation establishment stage cultivators could easily take him in as a disciple. There was no need for a golden core cultivator to take on such a task. However, Bai Jingquan was mistaken. Chu Xian had only brought Huang Feihu up for a few words of encouragement because of the old connection. He had no intention of giving the boy any special treatment. The discipleship ceremony continued. Shijun Tian, Wei Ji, and the other nascent soul cultivators each represented a faction within the Heavenly Infinite Sect and would take in their own disciples. This event was essentially about bringing the new spiritual seedlings into their respective caves to begin their training. Chu Xian, however, was barely paying attention. He felt drowsy and was lost in thought. For the first time, he realized how exhausting being a leader could be. It wasn't until dusk that the discipleship ceremony finally came to an end. "Farewell, sect leader." The crowd called out, their voices ringing through the air. Chu Xian quickly made his exit, eager to leave without lingering a moment longer. However, not long after, new news arrived. "Xianxia? That guy is going to take a position at Heavenly Infinite Sect?" Chu Xian furrowed his brows as he received a transmission from Bloodwine True Master. Xianxia and his brother Xiang Tianjue had done some things in the past that, even now, made Chu Xian feel a bit of admiration. He didn't want people like that as his opponents. A few months later, sure enough, Xianxia passed through the teleportation array and arrived at Infinite Island. Under Shi Juantian's guidance, Xianxia made his way to the main hall of the sect to meet Chu Xian. It was the first time Chu Xian saw this former genius of the Nether Dao sect. Xianxia was handsome and fair-skinned, his face always carrying a gentle smile, giving him a harmless air. Xianxia greets sect leader Chu. He bowed respectfully to Chu Xian. Chu Xian laughed heartily. Fellow Daoist Xiang, no need for such formalities. Come, bring the tea. Immediately, a graceful female cultivator stepped forward and served spiritual tea. Shi Juntian bowed respectfully. Sect leader, I'll take my leave now. Alright, go ahead, Chu Xian waved him off. With that, the hall was left with only Chu Xian and Xianxia. Please, take a seat. Chu Xian smiled. Xianxia cupped his hands. I've heard of your outstanding achievements during the Mystic Azure battle, sect leader Chu. Even Blood Wine True Master spoke highly of you. Inside the heaven-shaking divine sect, there are many voices of praise for you as well. Xiang greatly admires you, sect leader, truly. Chu Xian simply smiled. It's just empty fame. If I had the choice, I would rather stay away from conflict and not be involved in bloodshed. After all, I've never been someone who enjoys fighting. Upon hearing this, Xianxia laughed heartily but didn't say anything further. He picked up his tea, about to take a sip, when he glanced around and smiled. I've long heard that sect leader is proficient in the art of poison insects, and today I finally get to witness it firsthand. To think that even the hot tea can't harm the insect eggs. It must be extraordinary indeed. Chu Xian's expression remained unchanged. Fellow Daoist Xiang is no slouch either. Your poison techniques are quite exquisite. You've managed to spread 4 types of poisonous powder while speaking. One that can confuse the mind, another with fire toxicity, a third with ice poison, and the last one, which can slow down spiritual qi. These 4 poisons may not kill me immediately, but over time, as the dosage increases, they will slow down my ability to cast spells during battle. Xianxia smiled warmly. Such a small trick, and it was easily seen through by the sect leader. It seems you're not only skilled in the way of poison insects but also quite proficient in the art of poison. I believe I'll have to discuss it further with you in the future, sect leader. Chu Xian smiled back. That would be excellent. We can help each other improve, and that's a wonderful thing. I wonder, fellow Daoist Xiang, why did you choose to join the Heavenly Infinite Sect and become a nascent soul elder? With your talents and disposition, becoming a nascent soul disciple of the heaven-shaking divine sect would have been no difficult task. Chapter 308, Isn't it just the Holy Ant Tribe? Charge. Plus, turn off reset. Chapter 308, Isn't it just the Holy Ant Tribe? Charge, Xianxia sighed with a smile. It's all because of my useless older brother. I gave up my spot for him. Master Luo of the Heavenly Blood Alliance invited me to his place. I thought it over, but in the end, I came to Mystic Azure Star. Not for any particular reason, but mainly because of you, sect leader Chu. Chu Xian raised an eyebrow. Because of me? Xianxia smiled warmly. Sect leader Chu went from a mere qi refining cultivator to the position you hold today. There must be something remarkable about you. Now, as I'm living under someone else's roof, I naturally have to choose a strong leader. Chu Xian smiled back. In that case, I welcome you, fellow Daoist Xiang, to join the Heavenly Infinite Sect. Xianxia also smiled. Thank you, sect leader, for your approval. Now, I'll be able to shine and contribute to Heavenly Infinite Sect. The two walked out of the sect leader's hall side by side. One turned left, the other right, heading to their respective caves. Xianxia gently patted his sleeve, making sure to secure the poison powders even more tightly. I used 4 kinds of poison powder to test him, and he actually detected it quickly and even described their effects. It seems that sect leader Chu's poison techniques are also quite formidable. This man, rising from a qi refining cultivator to his current position, truly isn't someone with just empty fame. It looks like I'll have to improve my poisons further. Since regaining my memories, this is the first person who was able to dissolve my poisons so easily. I've truly made the right choice returning to Mystic Azure. Meanwhile, Chu Xian furrowed his brows. The hidden bee egg had only been a test to gauge Xianxia's abilities. If Xianxia had failed to detect the insect egg, it would have shown that his strength was average, and there would be no need to pay further attention to him. But the fact that Xianxia discovered it so quickly indicated that he was someone worth keeping an eye on. Chu Xian had used a different insect egg this time. It wasn't the standard second transformation poison insect. It was a third transformation insect, enhanced and refined with techniques he'd gained from studying various demon insects. Most nascent soul cultivators would struggle to detect it. It seems the hidden bee still needs to be improved, at least to the level of a fourth transformation insect, before it can't be detected by him, Chu Xian thought to himself as he left. He wasn't truly trying to control Xianxia with the hidden bee, he merely wanted to understand the man's true intentions for joining the Heavenly Infinite Sect. In the following days, Xianxia quickly integrated into the Heavenly Infinite Sect. Every day, he followed the rules, doing what he was supposed to do. There was no sign of trouble from him. Shijun Tian, Wan Hun, and the others found him to be a warm and approachable person. Bai Jingquan and the other Golden Core disciples saw him as a friendly nascent soul senior. As for the lower-ranked disciples, they regarded Xianxia as the epitome of a nascent soul elder, always smiling, always approachable. But Chu Xian had an instinctive feeling that there was something off about him, as if Xianxia was hiding some kind of malice beneath his gentle exterior. After all, anyone who tried to poison him every time they met, and always with different poisons, could not possibly be a normal person. Of course, every time they met, Chu Xian also made sure to iterate and improve his insect techniques. After all, as the sect leader, he had resources and disciples to acquire any kind of insect he wanted. Every encounter between the two was a subtle test of each other's abilities. In the cave world. SEA the Nelfer.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. As usual, Chu Xian cast a glance into the cavern. The trap set by Lai Yong had proven effective. The Holy Ant tribe had learned the full story of the conflict between the Fire Ant tribe and the Devouring Thunder Ant tribe. After conducting a field investigation, several of the Holy Ant tribe's elders deliberated for a long time and finally decided that the Fire Ant tribe was innocent. They were granted the full territory of the Devouring Thunder Ant tribe. After all, the Fire Ant tribe had always held the moral high ground. After conquering the Devouring Thunder Ant tribe, they didn't indiscriminately slaughter innocents but treated the Devouring Thunder tribe's people fairly and even offered preferential treatment to them. Naturally, the Holy Ant tribe didn't feel they could say much. Now, the Fire Ant tribe, under the leadership of Lai Yong, had grown into a medium-sized tribe. Its scale was now comparable to, if not larger than, the former Devouring Thunder Ant tribe. The territories of several other medium-sized tribes around them had been partially taken over by the Fire Ant tribe. Chu Xian's gaze shifted back to Lai Yong. At this very moment, Lai Yong was lying in a chair, wrapped in soft white insect leather. He was holding a beautifully bound book and reading it with great interest. Paper books were a luxury in the cave world. Most people only had access to bone tablets engraved with characters. Chu Xian looked around. The decoration of this house was clearly very extravagant. Everywhere he looked, there were statues of demon insects made using secret techniques. They looked so lifelike, as if they were about to leap out and launch an attack at any moment. Chu Xian carefully observed Lai Yong. He noticed that the once muscular and vigorous man had aged considerably. His once dark hair was now fully white at the temples, and the gray had spread throughout the rest of his hair. Last time I paid attention, Lai Yong was already approaching 60, Chu Xian thought. Now, over 40 years have passed, and Lai Yong is just over 100. Chu Xian felt a sense of melancholy. Lai Yong was undoubtedly an outstanding figure, a true hero. But even such a person had one foot in the grave. After all, Lai Yong had never managed to break into the ranks of platinum insect masters. He's truly reaching the end of his lifespan, Chu Xian mused. Suddenly, Lai Yong began coughing violently. He hurriedly walked to the wall beside him, where there was a row of transparent, tube-shaped insects. These insects were called crystal tube worms. Those with some status would use these worms to hold their wine. The worms were quite obedient, just a light tap on their body, and the liquid inside would spill out from their mouths into a cup. Lai Yong quickly filled a large cup with wine and drank deeply. After a long while, he let out a satisfied sigh. "This longevity wine really works," he said, his voice full of contentment. "It's a shame my injuries never fully healed. My lifespan has probably been shortened considerably." Lai Yong sighed deeply, his tone full of regret. Chu Xian nodded slightly. He was aware of this. Many years ago, when the fire ant tribe had just established itself and had barely stabilized, they clashed with the nearby flying sky ant tribe. Lai Yong had stepped in, defeating the flying sky ant tribe's leader, but in the process, he had sustained severe injuries. It was that battle that left him critically wounded and spurred him to seek out materials to extend his life. 5 years ago, Lai Yong finally gathered all the required materials to make this longevity wine. It was a testament to his perseverance. Those materials didn't exist in the cave world and had to be painstakingly sourced, and he had managed to cobble them together. While it wasn't as instant as a longevity pill, the gradual effects of the wine would likely add about 10 years to his life. "Magic mirror, oh magic mirror," Lai Yong muttered as he entered his room, closing the door behind him. He then took out the fragment of the mirror, which he always kept close, along with several small crystals that he placed on its surface. Chu Xian quickly learned the contents of the insect breeding techniques from these crystals and couldn't help but shake his head. No good, he thought. These methods are far too primitive. They're clearly limited in potential. At best, they could only reach the level of a 3-transformation insect. This won't satisfy me. With a shake of his head, Chu Xian used his spiritual sense to write a line of text on the surface of the mirror shard. Holy Ant Cultivation Method. Lai Yong saw the text appear and couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Holy Ant Cultivation Method? Kill me now, he thought. Even if I were bolder, I wouldn't dare entertain such an idea. I have such a large tribe. I have children and grandchildren. I can't take that kind of risk. At that moment, another line of text appeared on the mirror. Great orifice opening scripture can open another insect orifice. Lai Yong's eyes immediately turned red. Isn't this the holy ant tribe? Charge, he shouted, determination filling his voice. Chapter 309 Secret Mission. Chu Xian was pleased as he watched Lai Yong's reaction. The so-called orifice opening scripture was a technique he had improved from a golden core level insect cultivation method. In essence, it was similar to the bloodworm's tome, with the main difference being the focus on opening an additional insect orifice in the practitioner's body, allowing them to cultivate more powerful insect-based techniques. For cultivators, it wasn't much different to open one special organ for cultivating insects or two. For instance, Chu Xian only needed to enlarge his bloodworm's sac, there was no need for a second one. However, for the cave people, opening another insect orifice would significantly increase their combat power. Chu Xian had known from the beginning that Lai Yong would never be able to refuse such an opportunity. He had kept the great orifice opening scripture hidden for so long, waiting for the right moment to bring it out. Now, it seemed, was the time. People grow old, and they start to lose their drive, Chu Xian muttered to himself, thinking about how much Lai Yong had changed over the years. Ah, how I miss the old Lai Yong, the one full of ambitions. He couldn't help but feel some regret. In the past, Lai Yong had been fiercely driven, but now he was more concerned about his children and their future. As a responsible and thoughtful golden finger, it was his job to reignite that fighting spirit within his host. Live to the fullest, fight to the end. Live old, fight old. Meanwhile, Lai Yong paced back and forth in his room, deep in thought. His mind was coming up with a plan. To get the holy ant cultivation method, I don't have to destroy the holy ant tribe from the outside in. He mused. I can infiltrate from within, corrupt them slowly. My 8th son has already married the granddaughter of the 5th elder of the Holy Ant tribe. He smiled to himself, thinking that this connection could be used to plant a spy within their ranks. His thoughts started to form into a clear plan. It seemed like the perfect opportunity to make a move. Perhaps I can eventually get my hands on the Holy Ant cultivation method after all. Chu Xian smiled in satisfaction. A host with plans, ideas, and ambition is a qualified one. Otherwise, how would they be any different from Xiaohua? It looks like I'll be able to get the Holy Ant cultivation method soon enough, he thought. I'm really curious about just how powerful the Holy Ant cultivation method can be. Having observed the cave world for so long, Chu Xian had a rough idea of the strength of various insect masters. For instance, bronze insect masters and their bronze Yao insects could rival qi refining cultivators. Silver insect masters and their silver Yao insects could be compared to foundation establishment cultivators. Gold insect masters and their golden Yao insects were comparable to golden core cultivators. And so on. The Holy Ant tribe, a large tribe, had its strongest members as platinum insect masters, whose power could rival nascent soul cultivators, though their lifespan was much shorter. Their strength came from the support of their demonic insects. The Holy Ant cultivation method, which allowed the cultivation of ants up to the level of nascent soul cultivators, undoubtedly held immense potential. Chu Xian was particularly intrigued because, after observing the various insect tribes in the cave world, he realized that the thunder-devouring ants and the sky-flying ants were all descended from the holy ants. That meant the holy ants had queen-like characteristics, and if he could understand their cultivation methods, he might gain insight into enhancing his own blood-be queen. Slightly encouraging Lai Yong in his thoughts, Chu Xian refocused his attention. There was still much to do, especially with refining various treasures. The Heaven Corpse Tower had already been refined into his life-bound magic treasure, but the nether beeswax and blood river crystals still needed to be integrated into the blood beehive and the evil soul chain. These things required time. Now that Lai Yong was busy making his preparations, Chu Xian decided to focus on these matters. Time passed swiftly. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had gone by. Chu Xian exhaled a deep breath and rose to his feet. He had spent the past 3 years in this secluded space, carefully refining his 2 magic treasures once again. Finally, the results were in. The blood bee nest, after incorporating the nether beeswax, had grown 3 times its original size and its outer shell had become significantly more resilient. What delighted Chu Xian even more was that the blood bee queen, likely influenced by the nether beeswax, had experienced a rise in its cultivation, now reaching the late stage of the 3rd transformation. The most surprising change was that the new brood of eggs laid by the queen now exhibited a trait inherited from the nether bee, the ability to become invisible. However, this invisibility was temporary and consumed the short lifespan of the bees, unlike the ancient nether bees, which could remain invisible indefinitely without any cost. Even so, this was a significant improvement. Chu Xian gave a mental command, and the black chain shot out. The evil soul chain, which had been refined with the blood river crystals, had gained more sinister energy. The stench of blood was now even more potent. Chu Xian casually summoned a zombie and pulled it over. With a swift flick of the rope, the zombie's blood was immediately absorbed by the evil soul chain. In the blink of an eye, the zombie turned into a desiccated corpse. A gust of wind blew, and it quickly turned to dust, scattering into the horizon. Roar! Huikong appeared, letting out a joyous howl. Chu Xian noticed that the entity's soul had been slightly affected by the blood river crystals as well, showing a hint of red in its ethereal form. The overall presence of Huikong had visibly strengthened. Not bad, Chu Xian murmured, pleased. With the upgrades to both the blood beehive and the evil soul chain, my power has increased once more. He nodded in satisfaction and stored the treasures back into his storage space, then returned to the mystic Azure star. Currently, the mystic Azure star was thriving with vitality, but the war between the heaven-shaking divine sect and the reincarnation divine sect was far from over. Xian still made regular trips back to the mystic Azure star to check on the situation, primarily to prevent any underhanded attacks from the reincarnation divine sect. At this point, the heavenly infinite sect was still in its infancy, and it was vulnerable to any destructive assault. Xian knew that there were still many cultivators in the mystic Azure star who were secretly loyal to the reincarnation divine sect. Some were straightforward and unwilling to hide their intentions, which was not problematic. However, others were patient and more adept at biding their time. They might use the opportunity of the heavenly infinite sect recruiting talent from all over to infiltrate, acting as if they were part of the sect, appearing even more loyal than some of the demonic cultivators. But over time, their true motives would inevitably surface. Xian was merely waiting for those who couldn't hold back anymore. He took out a communication jade slip and asked, "How have things progressed with the task I assigned?" After a brief moment, Bai Jingquan's respectful voice came from the jade slip. "Reporting to the sect master, I have selected 5 loyal and capable golden core cultivators from within the sect. They are now awaiting my orders." Xian nodded, satisfied. "Good. Bring them to the Flying Fish Lake on Infinite Island to meet me. Make sure no one else notices them." "Understood." Bai Jingquan replied respectfully. Xian gave one last thoughtful look at his surroundings before focusing entirely on the next phase of his plans. The Flying Fish Lake was located in the northern part of Infinite Island. It was home to many white flying fish. At noon, when the flying fish leaped out of the water, they would scatter droplets, creating a beautiful rainbow effect. However, few people ever visited this place, making it an ideal location for private meetings. After a short while, Xian met with Bai Jingquan and the 5 individuals behind him at the lake. Bai Jingquan stepped forward, presenting a list. "Sect Master, these are the names, cultivation levels, and backgrounds of the 5 individuals," he said. Xian quickly scanned the list before raising his head and subtly looking at one of them. "Yuan Zichu?" So this person had come as well. It wasn't bad that he had arrived. Xian remembered Yuan Zichu's cautious nature from before. Such matters were best entrusted to someone meticulous and prudent. "Greetings, Sect Master," Yuan Zichu and the others said in unison. Xian stood with his hands behind his back and spoke in a calm tone, "I trust you all, and therefore, I'm assigning an important task to you. There are bound to be some cultivators in the sect with ties to the reincarnation divine sect who are trying to fish in troubled waters. You need to pay close attention and keep a record of these people. The safety of the sect depends on you." Yuan Zichu and the others' eyes widened, filled with excitement and joy. They responded in unison, "We understand, Sect Master." Chapter 310, Traitor's Trail. Xian watched the group of 6 and smiled. "If you perform well in this task, your positions, wealth, and power will be in your grasp. You may even one day glimpse the path to nascent soul," he said. Upon hearing this, the 6 of them, including Yuan Zichu, were even more deeply moved. Nascent soul path, for many golden core cultivators, this was an unattainable goal without enough nascent soul spiritual items. But the person standing before them was the sect master of Heavenly Infinite Sect, the strongest person on Mystic Azure Star, a figure of immense power, whose words were law. His promises were always kept. Bai Jingquan, Yuan Zichu, and the others spoke with solemn reverence, "We are duty-bound to serve the sect master." "Good. Go ahead, and the sect will remember your deeds," Xian replied with a smile. "Understood." Search the novelfire.net * website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. As the 6 of them left, Xian stood still, watching their retreating figures with a faint smile. Planting a few spies within the sect was hardly a challenge for him as the sect master. As for the grand promises, who couldn't make such promises? In his past life, he had heard countless bosses promise all kinds of things, and now he wielded those skills with masterful precision. In this way, these individuals would naturally work hard to uncover every possible traitor within the sect. And if they died while performing their tasks? Well, that was the price of failure. He never promised compensation. In fact, the death of one could potentially identify more traitors, making it all the more useful. On Yuan Zichu's way back to his cave, he couldn't stop thinking about Chu Xian's words. Nascent soul. Nascent soul. Even someone as cautious as Yuan Zichu couldn't help but feel a burning excitement in his heart at the thought. Could the sect master be just drawing a fantasy for us? He wondered, then shook his head. No, he's a person of immense authority. He wouldn't make such empty promises. I must be overthinking it. Still, he couldn't shake the allure of the possibility. The sect master was right. The heavenly infinite sect was still in its early stages, with all kinds of people joining, and surely, some traitors had infiltrated the sect, plotting its downfall. How do I find these traitors? Yuan Zichu thought, scratching his head. He had just arrived and didn't know where to start. Never mind, he sighed. It's a quiet day, so I'll head to the brothel to listen to some songs. But he wasn't going to any ordinary brothel. Zhu Yuqiao could sing beautifully. Yuan Zichu decided to visit her at Wu Dalong's cave, enjoy a song, and then discuss the intricacies of formation techniques afterward. As for finding traitors? That could wait until tomorrow. Wu Dalong drained the last of his wine, his gaze calm and steady as he sat in his cave. The entrance was directly in his line of sight, and he saw Yuan Zichu being welcomed by Zhu Yuqiao into her cave. The two of them seemed to be in high spirits, as if they were once again about to engage in deep, yet simple discussions on the art of formations. Wu Dalong's expression, however, remained unchanged, like a tranquil pond that had not been disturbed. He paid no mind to the situation at hand. He had known for a long time about the secret dealings between Yuan Zichu and Zhu Yuqiao. But so what? It was just a woman, after all. The two of them, however, felt a lingering sense of guilt, which only seemed to make them treat him better than before. The last time they escaped the foreign battlefield, and now arriving at the heavenly infinite sect, both had been greatly aided by Yuan Zichu. Yuan Zichu is not lacking in talent, and he's also a talisman master, Wu Dalong mused. Zhu Yuqiao may have mediocre talent, but she is a rare formation master. They will undoubtedly be valued by the heavenly infinite sect. He took another sip of wine and leaned back thoughtfully. Wu Dalong reflected on his past. It was on the extraterritorial battlefield that he had lost contact with Yuan Zichu and Zhu Yuqiao and had nearly perished in the mouth of another crocodile. By sheer fortune, a monk from the Celestial Sound Zen Temple had saved him, and he narrowly escaped death. Since that moment, he had decided to follow the teachings of the Celestial Sound Zen Temple. He had even made an agreement with the monk that one day he would travel to Celestial Sound Star to become one of their monks. Unfortunately, fate had not been kind. The foreign battlefield had mysteriously collapsed, and by some twist of fate, he found himself back on mystic Azure Star. Deep down, Wu Dalong disliked the demonic cultivators of heavenly infinite sect. However, he had no choice in the matter. Now that he had an opportunity to act, he would not hesitate. Not for his own benefit, but to repay the monk from the Celestial Sound Zen Temple who had saved his life. If I can gather enough information about the sect master of heavenly infinite sect through Yuan Zichu and Zhu Yuqiao, he thought, then it will be worth the effort. Wu Dalong took another drink, his eyes narrowed in contemplation. The game had only just begun, and he would bide his time until the right moment arrived. Blue Star. Chu Xian sat cross-legged, deep in meditation for 10 years. At last, he slowly rose to his feet. His body had grown more powerful and robust, with every muscle and bone perfectly proportioned and exquisitely developed. This was the external manifestation of a body refiner's prowess. 10 years of hard cultivation, and I've finally advanced to the 36th level. Chu Xian nodded in satisfaction. The black nether falcon's flesh had indeed been a treasure, its life force inexhaustible and continually replenishing him. It's time to return to Mystic Azure. The hidden cultivators there should be moving by now. With a single step, Chu Xian returned to his cave on Infinite Island. He carefully reviewed the messages in the transmission jade. With a sweep of his divine sense, he quickly finished listening to all of them. Although 10 years had passed in Blue Star, only 1 year had passed on Mystic Azure, yet by Jinkuan, Yuan Zichu, and the others were very diligent. They sent him a transmission almost every 10 days. However, the content was rather unremarkable. By Jinkuan. Master, nothing to report today. Master, nothing to report today. Master, I suspect a traitor, and I am investigating. Master, the suspected traitor was just having a drinking gathering. I checked and decided not to pursue it. Master. Yuan Zichu. Master, today I had a sparring match with Fu Peng, no issues. Master, today I went on a mission with Chao Mo. No issues. Master, I discussed talismans with Elder Lu Ruoshui today and found no signs of betrayal. Master. Only when he reached the latest transmission did Chu Xian's eyebrows raise slightly. By Jinkuan. Master, today Wu Dalong suddenly asked whether I liked the sect and mentioned that he personally didn't like the sect. I suspect something is off with Wu Dalong, and I am continuing to investigate. Chu Xian had already gone through the list of golden core and higher cultivators in the sect, so he was familiar with Wu Dalong. This person was Zhu Yuqia's partner and had a brotherhood bond with Yuan Zichu. Interesting. Chu Xian muttered to himself. It looks like it won't be long before I can drag out the big fish hiding in the background. He smiled faintly. Wu Dalong, a mere golden core cultivator, might be able to gather information, but he lacked the ability to pass it on. Only a nascent soul cultivator had such capabilities. Who could it be? Chu Xian pondered. Could it be Shijun Tian, Wei Ji, or one of the nascent soul cultivators stationed on Mystic Azure by the Heavenly Blood Alliance? The nascent soul cultivators from the Heavenly Blood Alliance were not part of the first batch of recruits. They had been sent later, and the reason was simple. The Heavenly Infinite Sect, though powerful, was still small and weak. The heaven-shaking divine sect feared that the Heavenly Infinite Sect might not be able to hold Mystic Azure, so they ordered the Heavenly Blood Alliance to send reinforcements. Chapter 311, Painting a Pie in the Sky plus, Turn off reset. Chapter 311, Painting a Pie in the Sky. These few individuals were ostensibly under the command of the heaven-shaking divine sect. Chu Xian understood this well. In addition to assisting in the defense of Mystic Azure Star, their other role was to keep a watchful eye on the Heavenly Infinite Sect. Especially on him, its sect leader. Given the current turbulent times, it was only natural for the heaven-shaking divine sect to prepare for both outcomes. Chu Xian, however, did not concern himself with this. He only cared about who the traitor was. Mystic Azure Star was peaceful and serene. He had no desire to become embroiled in the war between the reincarnation divine sect and the heaven-shaking divine sect. Whoever disturbed his tranquility would meet their end. Xianxia the novel, F.ir.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Several days passed. Once again, Wu Dalong sought out Yuan Zichu. The two conversed for a long while, their words filled with dissatisfaction toward the Heavenly Infinite Sect. They raged against the demonic practices and expressed their helplessness at the current situation. After some time, Wu Dalong spoke in a low voice, Yuan, since you harbor such discontent towards the Heavenly Infinite Sect, why not join us? Yuan Zichu knew the bait had been set, yet he did not reveal any emotion. He sighed deeply instead. Mystic Azure Star is the territory of the Heavenly Infinite Sect. Even if I wished to leave, I would have no means. Wu Dalong smiled. Indeed, leaving now is difficult, but you could infiltrate under a different guise and serve the church. Yuan Zichu froze. The church? You mean, the reincarnation divine sect? Wu Dalong nodded emphatically. Exactly. He then recounted his experiences on the extraterritorial battlefield. Yuan Zichu was astonished. I never imagined Brother Wu had already been noticed by the eminent monks of the Celestial Sound Zen Temple. Truly impressive. However, with just our strength, how could we possibly transmit any intelligence? He sighed again, not that we don't wish to, but we simply cannot. His words were laced with frustration at the current state of affairs. Wu Daolong watched him carefully, nodding in agreement. He looked around, lowering his voice to the utmost secrecy before continuing, "Above us, there is a nascent soul cultivator." Yuan Zichu's heart stirred. Perfect. The big fish had taken the bait. Who? Which elder? Yuan Zichu asked eagerly. Wu Daolong smiled and shook his head. I cannot say. The identity of this nascent soul cultivator must remain hidden. From now on, any intelligence you gather, report it directly to me. I will pass it on to the nascent soul master. Then he will relay it to the church. Yuan Zichu felt some regret but understood the situation. If Wu Daolong had so easily disclosed the name of the nascent soul cultivator, it would have been highly suspicious. Since he had prepared himself to catch the big fish, the fishing line must be cast far and wide. In the days that followed, whenever Yuan Zichu acquired information, he promptly shared it with Wu Daolong. During drinking sessions, he would also vent his dissatisfaction with the nascent soul elders and golden core cultivators, thereby strengthening Wu Daolong's trust in him. Until one day, Wu Daolong once again found Yuan Zichu and solemnly said, "Come with me. That person has acknowledged your contributions." A short while later, the two met in a remote mountain range beneath Wuxia Island. Yuan Zichu noticed there was another golden core cultivator present. It was Chao Moran, one of the elders under the command of Elder Wan Hun. Yuan Zichu inwardly sneered. Wasn't this person a true demonic cultivator? Why did he harbor dissatisfaction with the heavenly infinite sect? Or was he merely swayed by personal gain? Wu Daolong respectfully said, "Greetings, Elder Lu." Yuan Zichu and Chao Moran also bowed respectfully. The figure then turned around, revealing a smile. "Yuan Zichu, you've done well." Yuan Zichu clearly saw the person before him and finally recognized him. It was Lu Ren. Lu Ren was one of the 3 nascent soul cultivators sent by the Heavenly Blood Alliance to be stationed on Mystic Azure Star. Chao Moran, you two have shown unwavering loyalty to the church, Lu Ren smiled. I have observed both of you over the past few days, and your loyalty to the church has not gone unnoticed. From today onward, both of you will officially join my command, becoming part of the Orthodox Alliance. Yuan Zichu was filled with excitement. Yes. Thank you, Elder Lu. I've finally found an organization. Chao Moran also solemnly declared, I will serve the church, even at the cost of my life. Lu Ren smiled faintly. The Orthodox Alliance is still but a tiny spark. But with time, it will inevitably grow into a roaring fire, consuming this demonic sect to ashes. At that time, Mystic Azure Star will return to the church's rule. The billions of mortals on Mystic Azure Star will finally live in a peaceful and harmonious environment. Wu Daolong and Yuan Zichu were both filled with exhilaration. Yes. After the excitement subsided, Yuan Zichu respectfully asked, Elder Lu, is the Orthodox Alliance just us? Lu Ren laughed heartily. Of course not. Rest assured, there are many cultivators within the Heavenly Infinite Sect who despise the demonic ways. And across Mystic Azure Star, such cultivators are abundant. When the Church once again turns its attention to the Mystic Azure Star, we will raise our arms in unison, and the world will respond. With this inner and outer coordination, we will surely welcome back the Divine Army. At that time, you will all have made great contributions and will undoubtedly receive the Church's immense rewards. Reaching the nascent soul Tao will no longer be a dream, but a reality within your grasp. Yuan Zichu inwardly sneered. So, painting a pie in the sky. The sect master's pie is close at hand, but your pie lies far beyond reach. Although he thought this, his face was filled with excitement. The nascent soul Tao. I will do it. Please, Elder Lu, assign us our task. Lu Ren nodded repeatedly. The task I give you is simple. Continue to sow discord within the Heavenly Infinite Sect and turn more cultivators to our cause. Carefully assess their loyalty, and once you have fully trusted them, bring them into the Orthodox Alliance. As for intelligence, I will pass it up to the higher-ups. Understood. Wu Daolong, Yuan Zichu, and Chao Moran all bowed respectfully as they watched Lu Ren depart. By the flying fish lake. Yuan Zichu recounted all his experiences before speaking. Sect Master, this is everything I have witnessed. Please, Sect Master, give your instructions. Chu Xian casually tossed a handful of fish food into the lake, watching the flying fish leap from the water, before offering a faint smile. It's time to reel in the net. Yuan Zichu paused in surprise. Sect Master, should we not wait for the Orthodox Alliance to expose more individuals before we act? Chu Xian chuckled softly. Why wait? A soul search will suffice. Yuan Zichu shuddered. Of course, for capturing traitors, the soul-searching technique, a typical demonic method, was indispensable. How had he forgotten it? Just as Chu Xian was about to leave, he received a transmission from Xianxia. Sect Master, I have captured a traitor attempting to send information beyond the realms. Chu Xian raised an eyebrow. Who is it? Xianxia replied, a cultivator of the Heavenly Blood Alliance, Lu Ren. A moment later, Chu Xian arrived in a remote mountain range, where he met Xianxia. Lu Ren lay on the ground, his limbs severed, the wounds sealed to prevent further blood loss. From the despair in his eyes, it was clear that his soul had been suppressed, leaving him unable to self-destruct his nascent soul. Chapter 312 Research. Xianxia smiled. Sect Master, to ensure you don't suspect I had any intentions of silencing him, I've waited for quite a while. Shall I perform the soul search, or will you do it? Chu Xian nodded. I'll handle it. Soul searching was something one should do personally. Xianxia's spiritual qi surged as he pushed Lu Ren toward Chu Xian. With a swift motion, Chu Xian reached out and enveloped Lu Ren with his spiritual qi, effortlessly neutralizing the poison in his body. However, he did not immediately begin the soul search. After all, performing such a technique would reduce his sensitivity to the outside world. He didn't want Xianxia watching him as he worked. Search the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Chu Xian turned to Xianxia. How did you come to know this person was a traitor? Xianxia smiled. Chao Moran is one of mine. Given the sect master's cautious nature, I assume there must be someone among the Orthodox Alliance who is loyal to you as well? Chu Xian nodded slightly. Xianxia was indeed impressive, moving faster than he had, and even more cleverly waiting here, not using the soul search technique himself to avoid raising suspicion. Chu Xian casually probed, it seems, Elder Xiang, you detest traitors even more than I do. Xianxia was the first to act, clearly more eager than anyone to prevent information about mystic Azure Star from leaking out. Xianxia smiled. The reincarnation divine sect and I have a deep enmity, a matter of life and death. Rest assured, Sect Master. I, Xianxia, will never stand with the reincarnation divine sect. Sect Master wishes for peace and stability on mystic Azure Star, and so do I. Chu Xian nodded slightly. A kindred spirit. With that, he was reassured. The next day, Xianxia arrived at the grand hall of the sect. Chu Xian handed him a list. Elder Xiang, this is for you. Xianxia smiled and nodded. Sect Master, rest assured, it is my duty to eradicate the traitors. That very day, a team of nascent soul and golden core cultivators stormed the peaks and caves, rooting out those within the sect who harbored ill intentions toward the mystic Azure realm. In the end, all the traitors were publicly executed. Among the crowd, Yuan Zichu and Zhou Yuqiao also witnessed Wu Dalong's decapitation. Zhou Yuqiao's heart tightened. I never expected him to be a traitor. She instinctively grasped Yuan Zichu's hand tightly. The thought that someone so close to her, sharing her pillow, could be a traitor, filled her with an innate fear. Yuan Zichu also tightened his grip on her hand. With Wu Dalong's death, he no longer needed to sneak around with Zhou Yuqiao, discussing the way of formations. Whether in the pill furnace, in the ice cave, or anywhere else. He could be with her wherever he wanted, no longer having to worry about Wu Dalong catching them. But, why did it still feel so wrong? Yuan Zichu clicked his tongue, his gaze involuntarily falling upon the graceful nascent soul elder Lu Ruoshui. He pondered deeply. Reincarnation Divine Sect. At the heart of the Reincarnation Divine Sect stood a colossal tower, thrusting deep into the earth. This mighty structure was built upon a level 5 spiritual vein. A level 5 spiritual vein was one so potent that even a deity transformation cultivator could accelerate their cultivation by meditating upon it. The deeper one descended into the earth, the richer the spiritual chi became. The further from the surface, the more concentrated it grew. Thus, the deepest cultivation chambers were reserved solely for deity transformation elders and the Holy Sun, those with the highest qualifications to enter. Currently, the Reincarnation Divine Sect was embroiled in war with the heaven-shaking Divine Sect. The deity transformation elders were scattered across the battlefield, fighting fierce battles. Of the deepest cultivation rooms, only one remained in operation. It was here that Situ Kong, the Holy Sun, immersed himself in his training. He was but a step away from reaching the 9th layer of nascent soul. He could almost grasp that fleeting, intangible spark of insight, and was certain that soon he would break through to the 9th layer. At such a critical juncture, it was typical for disruptions to occur. Perhaps someone would suddenly arrive with a battlefield report, disturbing his cultivation and causing him to miss his chance. Yet, Situ Kong, as the Holy Sun, had ordered before his seclusion that unless a direct command came from Wenling Tian himself, no one was to disturb his cultivation. Thus, no one interrupted his breakthrough. Time flowed by, minute by minute. Situ Kong seized the fleeting insight, and his cultivation advanced smoothly into the 9th layer of the nascent soul. His aura surged explosively, sweeping through the chamber. Its force slammed against the walls, only to rebound and swirl back in a continuous cycle. This continued for several minutes before his energy finally settled. Situ Kong suddenly sprang to his feet, laughing heartily. His voice was filled with exhilaration. Good, good, good. I've finally reached the 9th layer of nascent soul. Once I perfect the 9th layer, I'll be able to cultivate the secret techniques granted by the Ancestor. A satisfied smile spread across his face. Just then, a respectful voice came from outside the room. Holy Sun. Situ Kong chuckled. What is it? With a wave of his hand, he opened the stone door to the cultivation chamber. A golden core cultivator bowed deeply, speaking with respect. Holy Sun, there is news from Mystic Azure Star. Situ Kong's heart soared with joy. Excellent. The seeds I planted all those years ago have truly borne fruit. Lu Ren had been one of the many seeds Situ Kong had planted years ago. Initially, he had tasked Lu Ren with gathering intelligence about the Heavenly Blood Alliance. He never expected Lu Ren to be assigned to Mystic Azure Star by Luo Zhantian, the leader of the Heavenly Blood Alliance. This development suited Situ Kong perfectly. Now, he could learn precisely what had transpired on Mystic Azure Star. He was eager to discover why Zhao Kai and the others had been so easily killed and who the greatest contributor to the Mystic Azure War had been. The cultivator respectfully handed him a jade slip. Situ Kong took the slip and infused it with spiritual chi. Immediately, the voice of Lu Ren echoed from within. Holy Sun, Feather Transformation Heaven Palace has been destroyed, and the new sect established is called the Heavenly Infinite Sect. The Heavenly Infinite Sect's leader, Chu Xian, was previously an unknown figure, just a chi-refining cultivator from the Infinite Sect. He later joined the Extreme Yin Cave lineage and merged with the Heavenly Seal Sect. For a time, his whereabouts were unknown. During the Mystic Azure War, he suddenly rose to prominence, and his methods were. Situ Kong's eyes brightened. He was about to listen more carefully when a sudden scream pierced the air. The transmission abruptly cut off. Situ Kong froze in shock. The golden core cultivator who had handed him the jade slip also went stiff. What? It cut off right here? Why didn't you continue speaking? What exactly are Chu Xian's methods? Situ Kong's face darkened to an extreme degree. He could easily guess that Lu Ren's true identity had been discovered. The transmission had been cut off midway because Lu Ren had been captured. Useless fool. Situkong's expression grew colder than ice. The golden core cultivator trembled and after a long pause finally spoke, Holy Sun, the ancestor has always wanted to know what happened on Mystic Azure Star. Situkong snapped irritably, I know. I don't need you to remind me. The golden core cultivator quickly half-knelt, shrinking his neck in fear. Situkong took several deep breaths, managing to calm his emotions with great effort. At least we now know about the Heavenly Infinite Sect and that Chu Xian. Investigate. I want a full report. The collapse of the extraterritorial battlefield, there must be Mystic Azure Star cultivators scattered across other cultivation worlds. Use all available methods. Find out everything about this person. Yes, this subordinate will go immediately. Chapter 313, Now, it was time for the Shift Plus, Turn Off Reset. Chapter 313 Now, it was time for the Shift. Situkong gazed intently at the dome of the cultivation room, his fists clenched with sudden force. The joy of reaching the 9th level of the nascent soul vanished in that instant. The capture of Lu Run likely meant that all righteous cultivators from the Mystic Azure Star had been rounded up. It would become increasingly difficult to obtain information directly from Mystic Azure Star in the future. The only hope lay in indirect intelligence from celestial bodies like the celestial sound star. Such information, however, would not be as reliable. Chu Xian. Chu Xian. Opposing my reincarnation divine sect was the greatest mistake of your life. Situkong snorted coldly and resumed his cultivation. Chu Xian was quite pleased with Xianxia's swift and decisive actions. With such a capable and diligent nascent soul elder, he could afford to be a hands-off manager. Of course, he was far from fully trusting Xianxia. To trust someone like Xianxia completely would be as foolish as seeking death by slamming his head into a boulder. Until he had the power to utterly crush his enemies, he would always maintain a level of suspicion towards both Xianxia and his brother, Shan Tianjue. When news of the betrayal by the disciples of Heavenly Infinite Sect spread, it was met with widespread satisfaction. As for the fate of the traitors, they were first publicly executed, their heads displayed as a warning. This was a message to others, kill the chicken to scare the monkey. Their corpses were then put to good use. The living souls and bodies of nascent soul and golden core cultivators were highly coveted treasures. No one would overlook such spoils. As for the division of the spoils, that was not Chu Xian's concern. Once the traitors were dealt with, he returned to Blue Star, focusing his attention on the cavern world. It's snowing, Lai Yong remarked, looking up at the heavy, goose-feather-like snowflakes falling from the rocky dome above. Instinctively, he tightened the red cloak wrapped around him. This cloak was crafted from the fur of the flame worm. Though light and thin, it was exceptionally warm, making it a rare and costly item. Traditionally, only the clan leader and elders were privileged to wear such garments. Yet now, despite wearing this fine cloak, he still felt a chill. It was a stark sign that his age had truly caught up with him. After all, his 3 insects were all fire ants. Once his fire ants had reached the highest golden tier, not only had they granted him great strength, but their heat had also kept him warm. Unless the temperature dropped drastically, he would never have felt cold. Lai Yong suddenly spoke, Chen He, who do you think is most suitable to be my successor? Only one person stood beside him, Chen He. When the fire ant tribe rose to power, it had swallowed the swallow ant, blade ant, and eventually the devouring thunder ant tribes. During that time, many of his trusted subordinates had perished. Some had died of old age. Now, only Chen He remained to accompany him. The other old confidants were all but too frail to move. As a longtime follower, Chen He, and by extension the Chen family, represented a powerful force within the fire ant tribe. Upon hearing Lai Yong's question, Chen He lowered his gaze, his voice steady. Every one of the chief's children is exceptionally talented and strong, all fit to become the next leader. Lai Yong let out a hearty laugh, Chen He, don't humor me. We've shed our titles now. You are no longer the head of the Chen family, nor the grand elder of the fire ant tribe. I am no longer the chief of the fire ant tribe. Tell me, who is truly worthy of leading as the next chief? Chen He thought for a long while before replying. Your third son, strong and valiant, unmatched in courage. Your seventh son, sharp-witted, possessing the makings of a general. Your eighth son, with outstanding talent, wise and decisive, has married the granddaughter of the fifth elder of the Holy Ant tribe, and they have a daughter. Your 12th son, with unparalleled talent, is already a golden-tier low-level insect master. I believe these 4 are all suitable to take the position of chief. Lai Yong studied Chen He closely, his expression unreadable, a smile playing on his lips. Chen He kept his gaze lowered, silent. The heavy snowflakes continued to fall. They blanketed the shoulders of both men in a thick layer of white. After a long pause, Lai Yong spoke again, his tone calm. Why didn't you recommend the 13th son? He is your son-in-law. Chen He shook his head. He is brave, but not as capable as your third son. He is clever, but not as sharp as your 7th son. He has some talent, but not to the level of your 12th son. As for his background, clearly, it pales in comparison to the Holy Ant tribe. Why would I recommend him? Lai Yong fell silent as well. After some time, he finally spoke again. Let's go back. It's too cold out here. Chen He nodded in agreement. As they walked back to the tribe, Lai Yong suddenly asked, Chen He, how is your back injury? Chen He smiled, it's fine. The healer said to avoid greasy food and alcohol. With proper care, it should heal in 7 or 8 years. Lai Yong nodded with a smile, take good care of yourself. After Lai Yong returned home, he immediately sent word to his 8th son, Lai Zhou, instructing him to return secretly to the fire ant tribe and avoid alerting anyone. Father, why have you called for me? Lai Zhou asked, his expression puzzled. sarthenovelire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. At present, he was the son-in-law of the Holy Ant tribe, and it would take him over 10 days to return to the fire ant tribe from there. Lai Yong gazed at him kindly. My child, how old are you this year? Lai Zhou replied earnestly, 55. Lai Yong chuckled. You are still younger than I was when I first rose to prominence. Lai Zhou nodded seriously. He was, of course, well aware of his father's remarkable achievements in the past. It was precisely for this reason that he held his father in the deepest admiration. Decades ago, the fire ant tribe had been nothing more than a small tribe on the outskirts of the myriad insects kingdom. Now, it had become a leading force among the mid-sized tribes, commanding respect such that none of the surrounding tribes dared to provoke them. This was a truly glorious accomplishment, one worthy of ancestral reverence. In death, his father would be honored in the ancestral temple. Yet there was one matter that Lai Zhou was dissatisfied with, the marriage arranged by his father. The granddaughter of the 5th elder of the Holy Ant tribe was truly large and strong, a daunting figure indeed. In the early days of their marriage, she was vigorous and youthful, savoring the pleasures of their union, and night after night, he was almost drained of energy. He had to feign sickness every few days, citing headaches or minor ailments, to avoid being utterly exhausted. Now, the situation had only worsened. Lai Zhou had even been forced to find several male concubines to satisfy his wife's needs, at least to keep the peace in their household. Lai Yong looked at his son with seriousness. Zhou, my life is nearing its end. I plan to pass the leadership of the fire ant tribe to you. Lai Zhou froze. Father, why me? 3rd brother, 7th brother, 12th brother, and 13th brother are all capable. Why choose me? He had once harbored thoughts of competing for the position of clan leader, but since his marriage into the Holy Ant tribe, he had let go of those ambitions. After all, a man who had married out was like water spilled. He had long abandoned any such notions. To his surprise, his father wanted to pass the position of leader to him. Lai Yong smiled. Your daughter is remarkable. She is a child of both the fire ant tribe and the Holy Ant tribe. If, in the future, she is able to inherit the Holy Ant tribe, no one would object. Lai Zhao's eyes widened in disbelief. Father. I can't even begin to imagine such a thing. You're far too ambitious. Lai Yong took a soft leather pouch from his chest and handed it to Lai Zhao. My child, this is my greatest secret. You've always wanted to know why, despite having only 2 insect orifices back then, I suddenly gained 3? It was because of this. Lai Yong smiled faintly. Cautiously, he had only shared the orifice opening scripture with his most trusted aides, not even passing it on to his own son. After all, one could never be too sure of the intentions of others. Now, it was time to pass on the legacy. Chapter 314, Life is short, and one must learn to enjoy it. Plus, turn off reset. Chapter 314, Life is short, and one must learn to enjoy it. Lai Zhao was struck dumb by his father's words. His hands, which held the soft leather pouch, began to tremble uncontrollably. Was this the source of father's rise to power? He took a deep breath before slowly untying the string of the pouch. With great care, he extracted the item inside. To his astonishment, it was a fragment of a mirror, irregular in shape. This is... Lai Zhao's expression was one of confusion. Mirrors were not rare or valuable to them. Nearly every household had one. Lai Yong smiled faintly. The orifice opening scripture was revealed to me by this mirror. And the secret technique I practiced, the fire goo refinement method, was also taught to me by this mirror. At that moment, the surface of the mirror suddenly glowed with faint, shimmering lights. In the blink of an eye, a line of text appeared. The great orifice opening scripture requires the holy ant cultivation method in exchange. Lai Zhao's eyes widened in shock. This. Lai Yong sighed deeply. This is what I wanted to discuss with you. The mirror does not bestow its secrets freely. It demands a Yao insect cultivation method, and the more powerful the method, the more it desires it. At first, it required the rock ant cultivation method. Later, it sought the swallow ant and blade ant cultivation methods. Eventually, it demanded the devouring thunder ant cultivation method. Now, it no longer finds these sufficient. It craves the holy ant cultivation method. Lai Zhao's mind raced. Father, this isn't too difficult. We could secretly capture a 15-year-old youth from the holy ant tribe, and that would... Lai Yong shook his head. I tried that approach many years ago, and it didn't work. Though the 15-year-old youths do listen to the wisdom of the insects when they touch the insect statues, that wisdom is only that, mere wisdom of the insects. Without reaching the corresponding level, they cannot offer the full Yao insect cultivation method. Lai Yong continued, in fact, lower-level insect cultivation methods can be obtained this way. For example, our fire ant cultivation method could only be cultivated to the silver rank at first. But the higher the rank of the insect cultivation method, the more impossible it is to use this approach. Lai Yong fixed his gaze on his son, his voice grave. There is only one way to offer the insect cultivation method to the mirror. Lai Zhao instinctively asked, what method? Lai Yong spoke slowly, each word deliberate. You must shatter the copper statue, and retrieve the crystal stone, and only then will you be able to offer the insect cultivation method. Lai Zhao was stunned into silence. Does that mean you want me to destroy the holy ant tribe? This was no joke. The holy ant cultivation method was the very lifeblood of the holy ant tribe. As far as he knew, the holy ant copper statues were enshrined at the very top of the sacred spirit tower in the holy ant tribe. No one was allowed near them. Only once a year, during the opening insect orifice ceremony, would 8 strong men descend from the top of the sacred spirit tower to carefully move the statue. But as soon as the ceremony was over, the statue would be returned to its place. And this ritual had been repeated year after year, without fail. Lai Yong gave his son a deep, lingering look. Don't you wish to live longer? The mirror can teach you the method to extend your life. Lai Zhao's eyes widened. Really? Lai Yong approached the crystal tube and poured a full cup of longevity wine. Drink this. Without hesitation, Lai Zhao raised the cup and drank it all in one gulp. The medicinal wine coursed through his body, and instantly, he felt his blood surge with warmth. It was as though he had shed several years of age in an instant. This is the method to extend life? Lai Zhou asked, astonished. Indeed, Lai Yong nodded. This is the method of longevity the mirror imparted to me. Unfortunately, the materials I had were rather ordinary, so this cup of longevity wine will likely only add about 10 years to your life. Lai Zhao's eyes gleamed with excitement. So, the mirror was such a powerful tool. But then, a shadow passed over his heart. The thought of eventually having to oppose the holy ant tribe sent a chill through him. The heat in his heart waned slightly. Lai Yong saw through his son's thoughts and coldly said, Lai Zhao, I have already shared my greatest secret with you. If you refuse to take the position of clan leader, I will pass it on to your brothers. And I will tell them that you know the secret of the mirror. Do you think they'll let that go? Lai Zhao shuddered, immediately replying, Father, I am willing. I will take the position of clan leader. What else could he do? Of course, it would lead to infighting, betrayal, and perhaps even violence among the brothers. Upon hearing Lai Zhao's firm response, Lai Yong finally smiled with satisfaction. Good boy. Take it then. My time is almost up, and the inheritance must be passed to your hands. It's a pity. If I had just 50 more years, no, 30 years, perhaps I could have led the tribe to become a large-scale tribe and gone head-to-head with the Holy Ant tribe. Lai Yong sighed deeply. By the way, Zhou, your Uncle Chen has been recovering from his injuries for many years, but he still can't eat meat or drink wine. It's been hard on him. Send him a big plate of deep-fried bull mushrooms. I remember that's his favorite. And there's a jar of 50-year-old night-blooming serious wine in my cellar, send that to him too. Tell him to eat and drink heartily. Life is short, and one must learn to enjoy it. Lai Zhao hesitated for a moment, as though a thought crossed his mind, but he did not speak it aloud. Eventually, he remained silent. Lai Yong slowly walked back to his bedroom and lay down. After handing over the mirror, his figure appeared oddly bent, as if he had aged greatly in that instant. Lai Zhao gazed at his father's retreating back, and within him, a surge of determination and ambition grew. The limitless future of the Fire Ant tribe, it was now in my hands to forge. Nightfall. The door of the Chen family residence was suddenly knocked upon. The gatekeeper opened a small crack in the door and grumbled, Who is it? Don't you know this is the residence of the Grand Elder? How dare you come knocking at such a late hour? Do you want to die? The visitor spoke calmly, the clan leader knows that the Grand Elder has not touched meat or alcohol for a long time. He specifically instructed the young clan leader to send over fried bull mushrooms and 50-year-old night-blooming serious wine. Upon hearing the words clan leader, the gatekeeper immediately stopped his complaints and quickly ushered the visitor inside. Please, come in. Please. The gatekeeper's expression instantly brightened. The clan leader had single-handedly elevated the Fire Ant tribe from a small tribe to a mid-sized tribe, defeating several surrounding mid-sized tribes along the way. The clan leader, Lai Yong, held immense prestige within the Fire Ant tribe. The clan leader personally sending delicacies to the Grand Elder in the middle of the night was a sign of favor, a symbol of the close relationship between the two. The gatekeeper dared not be the slightest bit negligent. At this moment, Chen He had not yet fallen asleep. Upon hearing the news, he was slightly taken aback. The clan leader sent something to me? However, when he saw the two items, his surprise quickly turned to a deep sense of melancholy and sorrow. Chen He took a deep breath and looked at the messenger. You just said, this was sent by the young clan leader? The visitor nodded. Indeed. Who is the young clan leader? The clan leader's eighth son, Lai Zhao. Chen He smiled faintly. So, the clan leader has finally chosen him. The messenger hesitated, then asked, Grand Elder, will you not eat? Chen He nodded. Of course, I will eat. This is a gift from the clan leader himself. Without using chopsticks, he reached out with his hand and grabbed the fried bull mushrooms, chewing them hungrily. Then, he picked up the night-blooming serious wine and drank deeply. Tears and snot streamed down his face as he continued to laugh uncontrollably, Sar the novel, ir.nt website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Delicious. So good. It's been many years since I've eaten so heartily and drunk so freely. Go back and tell the clan leader that the old servant is leaving first. Ha 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 ha. The messenger respectfully bowed to Chen He before turning and leaving. Chapter 315 Strategies for Motivational Cultivating. The next day, the Fire Ant Tribe's Grand Elder, Chen He, succumbed to his old back injury. The healing herbs were of no use, and before the tribe's healer could arrive, he passed away that very night. Lai Yong received the news and fell into a long silence. Lai Zhao spoke in a deep voice, "Father, why did you have to?" After a long pause, Lai Yong finally spoke, his voice calm, "Someone must go first. If he left now, it won't affect your future path." Hearing this, Lai Zhao fell silent as well. Chen He had been his father's most trusted confidant. As a child, Lai Zhao had been saved from danger several times by Chen He. Now, it felt as though he had personally sent Chen He on his final journey. "I'm going to sleep. Don't disturb me." Lai Yong waved his hand and returned to his bed. Another day passed. Lai Yong, the 35th clan leader of the Fire Ant tribe, suddenly passed away in his sleep. He was 121 years old. As a top-tier gold insect master, his lifespan was not considered long. It was clear that his battle with the leader of the Flying Sky Ant tribe had severely damaged his vitality, shaving many years off his life. The Fire Ant tribe held an extravagant funeral for Lai Yong, placing his spirit tablet at the highest point of the ancestral hall. Out of the previous 34 clan leaders, none had managed to elevate a small tribe to a medium-sized one. Lai Yong had done it. He had truly earned the honor. Shortly after Lai Yong's passing, his 8th son, Lai Zhao, succeeded him as the 36th clan leader of the Fire Ant tribe, following his father's will. Chu Xian looked at this new host and felt a sudden surge of emotion in his heart. Lai Yong had died. Had he been granted a few more decades of life, perhaps he could have overthrown the Holy Ant tribe. What a pity, what a pity. This Lai Zhao is somewhat indecisive. I wonder if he can live up to Lai Yong's legacy. And he's so young. The longevity method holds little allure for him. Chu Xian couldn't help but furrow his brows. After observing Lai Zhao for a few days, he realized that Lai Zhao could not be compared to his father, Lai Yong. However, what he had discerned so far was merely his indecisiveness. What if Lai Zhao was more of a ruler content with preserving the status quo? That would be even harder to deal with. What he needed was a host with a pioneering spirit. Even if the host failed halfway, that would be fine. At least the mirror fragment would fall into the hands of the next host. It would be far better than being left to gather dust in the hands of a ruler who was merely content with maintaining the existing state. Now that Lai Zhao is the new clan leader, everything must be taken over anew. There will be no opportunity for external expansion. I probably won't need to bother with him for the next few years. Let's head back to Mystic Azure and see how things are there. Chu Xian withdrew his focus. With a single step, he returned to his retreat on Infinite Island. On Infinite Island, by the shores of Flying Fish Lake, stood a small pavilion constructed from redwood and green bricks. Inside, Chu Xian and Xianxia sat across from each other, sipping spirit tea. Chu Xian smiled. "Kumao Feng tea was personally cultivated by me, bitter yet sweet, with a lingering aftertaste." Xianxia glanced at the boiling tea and was about to take a sip when he gently furrowed his brows. "The poison isn't in the tea, but rather on the rim of the cup," he remarked. "The sect leader's poison techniques have become even more inventive." Chu Xian chuckled. "Elder Shang, you are quite perceptive. Your toxic powder has diffused through the steam rising from my small red clay stove, spreading over a 3-zhang radius." He leaned closer and sniffed. "Curiously, it also has an aphrodisiac effect. Could it be, Elder Shang, that you intend to watch me make a fool of myself?" Xianxia smiled faintly. "I wouldn't dare. It's just a new poison I recently concocted, and I wanted to try it out." The sect leader's poison skills are unparalleled, so my humble trick has surely embarrassed me. Both men chuckled lightly and took another sip from their cups. After his recent cultivation in Blue Star, Xianxia refining had reached the 6th level of nascent soul, and his body refining had reached the 36th stage. He considered himself immensely powerful, capable of dealing with 3 or 4 cultivators of the same level with ease, and with the aid of the Ghost King and Corpse King, he could even face multiple nascent soul cultivators simultaneously. Yet every time he faced Xianxia, there was always a faint sense of danger. He knew better than to act rashly without absolute certainty. He could tell Xianxia was the same type of person. With Elder Shang's vast network, do you know to what extent the war between the sect and the church has escalated? Chu Xian asked, taking a sip of the bitter tea. Xianxia replied calmly, the divine sect has captured mystic Azure Star, while the church, through covert methods, has taken heavenly Radiant Star. As for the extraterritorial battlefields, I don't know much about those. They're the domain of the deity transformation cultivators. However, I did notice that the Heavenly Blood Alliance lowered its flag to half-mast. It seems a deity transformation cultivator from their side has perished. Chu Xian nodded slightly. A few members of the Heavenly Blood Alliance were stationed on Mystic Azure Star, and they would raise the Blood Dragon flag every day. When the flag was lowered to half-mast, it naturally caught his attention. He smiled. I already knew about this, Elder Shang. Don't treat me like an outsider. Are you unwilling to share things I don't already know? Xianxia pondered for a moment before responding. The war between the heaven-shaking divine sect and the reincarnation church is at a critical juncture, and the resources consumed must be vast. Sect Master Luo mentioned that the divine sect will soon begin requisitioning various resources. Medicinal pills and talismans will be in high demand. This is an excellent opportunity to exchange for sect contributions. Chu Xian nodded thoughtfully. That was certainly true. During times of war, medicinal pills and talismans were among the most sought-after consumables. No one could ever have enough. Just right, the formations I set up on Blue Star and Soul Star are starting to fall behind. This could be an opportunity to completely upgrade them to nascent soul-level formations. Chu Xian quietly made a note of this matter. Elder Shang, do you think Mystic Azure Star is in any danger of being affected by the ongoing war? He suddenly asked. Xianxia nodded. No cultivation star can remain unaffected. Unless the divine sect maintains a dominant position throughout. But from the current deadlock in the war, it's clear that sooner or later we will be drawn into it as well. Chu Xian furrowed his brow. I've been walking around the sect lately and noticed the disciples' cultivation seems to have stagnated. This is not a good sign. Xianxia agreed. Indeed. I think a reward system could be set up. Those who advance their cultivation quickly should be rewarded. This will help stimulate their motivation to cultivate. Chu Xian nodded in agreement. Elder Shang has a point. Xianxia continued, I've already drafted a plan, though it's still in its preliminary stages. The sect leader might want to listen. CTHNovelFire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Chu Xian smiled. I'm all ears. Xianxia explained, for Golden Core cultivators if they break through a minor realm within 20 years, they should be granted a major breakthrough pill and a bottle of blood essence. For Foundation Establishment cultivators, if they break through a minor realm within 10 years, they should be granted a minor breakthrough pill and a bottle of great blood pearls. For Qi refining cultivators, if they break through a minor realm within a year, they should be given a bottle of blood pearls. What do you think, sect leader? The breakthrough pills were precious medicines that allowed cultivators to forcibly break through bottlenecks, and they were expensive. They had to be combined with spiritual herbs rich in spiritual qi to be effective. They were not easy to come by, and this kind of reward system would indeed encourage the disciples' ambition to improve. However, it still wasn't quite enough. Chu Xian nodded thoughtfully. Good strategy, but I'd like to make a few adjustments. Chapter 316 Move to Tears, Chu Xian calmly stated, all timeframes shall be halved. Golden Core cultivators must increase one small realm within 10 years. Foundation establishment cultivators must do so within 5 years. Qi refining cultivators, within half a year. As for the 20 years, 10 years, and 1 year mentioned by Elder Shang earlier, those are the absolute minimums. If a cultivator exceeds these limits, their soul will be extracted and refined into a vengeful ghost, their body turned into a corpse puppet. This way, we can truly ignite the disciples' drive to improve swiftly. What does Elder Shang think? Shang Xingchen's usual calm expression faltered slightly. Was this really about pushing the disciples to excel, or was it because the sect leader was running low on materials for ghosts and corpse puppets? After a long pause, Shang Xingchen finally broke into a smile. Sect leader has a profound insight. Chu Xian nodded with satisfaction. I will have the detailed rules written and announced in a few days. I hope that all the disciples of the sect will not disappoint the effort I put in. Shang Xingchen cleared his throat lightly. I believe the sect's disciples will be deeply grateful to sect leader. The two of them chatted for a while longer. Shang Xingchen took a few sips of tea before casually asking, sect leader's rise truly resembles the sun rising in the east, so awe-inspiring. But logically speaking, with sect leader's talent and power, even as a golden core cultivator, you should not have been an unknown figure. Chu Xian clicked his tongue, this tea tastes bland and unpleasant, so I'll be leaving now. He then stood up and left. Shang Xingchen chuckled softly. Watching Chu Xian's retreating figure, he fell into deep thought. When Chu Xian was still a foundation establishment cultivator, he entered the Heavenly Seal sect with Wan Wuying. Then the Ghost King Palace emerged, the Heavenly Seal sect was destroyed, and Chu Xian vanished without a trace. When he reappeared, he was already a formidable nascent soul cultivator. What exactly happened during that time? It's truly a mystery worth investigating. A few days later, the new regulations of the Heavenly Infinite Sect were posted on the stone monument in the Plaza of Infinite Island. Alongside them were the promotion methods and new privileges for outer sect disciples, inner sect disciples, and true disciples. Soon, the news spread far and wide, with each person passing it on to 10, and 10 to 100. Every cultivator who learned of the new regulations was moved to tears. Were they tears of fear? No. They were tears of deep gratitude, touched by the sect leader's encouragement and resolve. Cultivators gathered in small groups, discussing the matter eagerly. I see that the last line mentions the new regulations were proposed by Elder Shang Xingchen and approved by the sect leader. It seems Elder Shang was behind these, these new regulations designed to push us forward. Elder Shang, sigh, we have no say in the matter, we must just accept it. Still, the benefits for the inner sect and true disciples have been increased by more than 50%. That's a good thing. Let us cultivate. If we fail to do so, we'll have our souls extracted and bodies turned into puppets. The cultivators dared not linger, rushing back to their caves to continue their cultivation. Without cultivation, one would die. Shang Xingchen, upon reading the new regulations, felt a peculiar unease. This was too much. It was clearly his suggestion, yet now it was being attributed to him. Was this an attempt to throw the dirty water on him? Shang Xingchen wished to say something but found himself without words. In the end, he could only let it go. SEA the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. In the cave world, when Chu Xian once again focused his attention on Lai Zhao, 10 years had passed in the blink of an eye. Lai Zhao sat at a large desk, his expression weary. Even though he had assumed the role of clan leader 10 years ago, he still felt the weight of the position pressing on him. Father, how did you manage to handle tribal affairs and simultaneously train the Yao insects? I can't seem to do it. Lai Zhao smiled bitterly. His abilities were limited, and he struggled to focus on two things at once. The 3 fire ants he had raised were still only at the middle tier silver rank, far from reaching the upper tier. Fatigue overwhelmed him. Leaning back in his chair, he gradually fell asleep. At that moment, a young girl with a delicate, dainty figure hurried into the room. The two bronze insect masters at the door noticed her and were about to salute, but the girl waved her hand and gestured for silence. The two bronze insect masters understood immediately, bowing slightly but saying nothing. The girl stepped softly into the clan leader's study. She stood behind Lai Zhao, carefully inspecting the documents on his desk. After a long while, Lai Zhao slowly awoke. He rubbed his groggy eyes and was about to continue handling tribal affairs. At that moment, a pair of icy little hands suddenly covered his eyes from behind. "Guess who I am?" Lai Zhao inhaled the familiar fragrance and laughed heartily. "Xianxia, how old are you now, yet you still play such childish games? How could I not recognize the scent on you?" Lai Xian immediately pouted, withdrawing her hands. "Father's emotional intelligence is so low. Your daughter travels all the way from the Holy Ant tribe to see you, and you can't even indulge me in a little game?" Lai Zhao gave a bitter laugh. "It's not that I don't want to, but there are just too many tribal matters to attend to. You see, there's a mountain of documents waiting for me." Lai Xian pointed to a document that Lai Zhao had been pressing down with his elbow. "Isn't that the financial report of the tribe from last year? I think it's quite simple. I've already calculated it. Last year, the tribe spent 13,000 silver insect crystals and earned 25,000 silver insect crystals. There's a surplus of 12,000 silver insect crystals. Insect crystals were the universal currency of the cave world. Small tribes rarely had access to insect crystals, usually relying on bartering for goods. Medium and large tribes, however, would encounter this monetary system. Insect crystals came in two varieties: silver insect crystals, produced by silver ingot worms, and gold insect crystals, produced by gold ingot worms. The methods for cultivating these ingot worms were tightly controlled by the myriad insect tribe and were seldom leaked. Particularly the gold ingot worms, which were incredibly difficult to cultivate, making gold insect crystals even more valuable. Moreover, the one insect tribe could control the ingot worms to produce insect crystals with unique patterns. These patterns served as anti-counterfeit markers. Even if some tribes managed to acquire a few ingot worms, it was nearly impossible for them to replicate the insect crystals. This was why the price system in the cave world remained remarkably stable. Lai Zhao, upon hearing his daughter's words, was somewhat surprised. He quickly lowered his head to recalculate. After a long while, he arrived at the same conclusion. "Xianxia, try calculating these as well." Lai Zhao handed over several more documents. Lai Xian took them and glanced over them. Within a few breaths, she had already provided an answer. Her speed left him utterly astonished. Lai Zhao stared at her as if seeing her for the first time, inspecting his daughter with new eyes. "Father, what is it?" Lai Xian chuckled mischievously. Lai Zhao shook his head. "When did you develop such an extraordinary ability with numbers?" Lai Xian pouted. "I've had it since I was little, but father always paid attention to my brothers and never cared about me." Lai Zhao awkwardly smiled and quickly changed the subject. "Xianxia, what brought you back so suddenly? How have you been at the Holy Ant tribe? How's mother treating you?" Chapter 317, Chaos in the Fire Ant Tribe Plus, Turn Off Reset. Chapter 317, Chaos in the Fire Ant Tribe. Lai Xian's expression grew somewhat despondent upon hearing this. Lai Zhao quickly asked, "What's wrong?" Lai Xian spoke in a low voice. "Mother had another child, just half a month ago." Lai Zhao fell silent. He understood this. His legitimate wife had strong desires, and he had sent a few men to satisfy her needs, but it had been a reluctant decision. Now that he had returned to the Fire Ant tribe to take up the position of clan leader, his legitimate wife remained in the Holy Ant tribe, undoubtedly indulging herself and living in lavish revelry day and night. The child born now, clearly, was not his own flesh and blood. "Mother doesn't really care about me. I rarely eat with her. She's much more concerned with my two younger brothers." Lai Xian spoke softly. Lai Zhao could only remain silent. After a long pause, he finally spoke. "Xianxia, would you prefer to stay in the Holy Ant tribe, or remain in the Fire Ant tribe? As long as you wish, I'll have someone bring your belongings over, and you can stay here from now on. Xianxia shook her head. I just wanted to see you this time. I'll stay in the Holy Ant tribe. Grandfather arranged for you and mother to marry because he saw that she's the granddaughter of the 5th elder of the Holy Ant tribe. I have the bloodlines of both the Holy Ant tribe and the Fire Ant tribe. There, no one will bully me. If the tribe needs any rare resources, I can help collect them in the Holy Ant tribe and have them sent here. Staying there will be more useful to you, father. Sir, the novel Fire, T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Upon hearing this, Zhou couldn't help but look at Xianxia again, a few more times. Although he had many children in name, Xianxia was the only one born of his legitimate wife. His 3 older sons were from concubines, now cultivating in the Fire Ant tribe to break through to higher levels. As for Xianxia's younger brothers, it went without saying. None of them carried his bloodline. In the past, he had never considered that his daughter, a girl, could bear the weight of his vision for the future. But now, hearing his daughter speak, he was for the first time struck by the realization that he had perhaps underestimated her all these years. Xianxia, how old are you this year? Zhou suddenly asked. I'm 24, Xianxia replied. Zhou felt a wave of emotion. He had only married his legitimate wife from the Holy Ant tribe when he was 40. The following year, Xianxia was born. How many insect orifices have you opened? Zhou asked again. Xianxia's expression darkened slightly. Father, how could you not know even this? Zhou awkwardly smiled. I can't remember. Xianxia spoke softly. I've opened 2 insect orifices, but the 3rd one is half open. I'm already a silver intermediate insect master. I'll soon surpass you, father. Zhou nodded. Xianxia, would you like to open another insect orifice? Xianxia was stunned. Another insect orifice? How is that possible? Zhou explained the situation with the orifice opening scripture. Xianxia's eyes widened in surprise. Father, you haven't told anyone about this, right? And you haven't passed the orifice opening scripture on to anyone else? Zhou shook his head. No, I haven't. My father, your grandfather, only passed on the orifice opening scripture to his most trusted subordinates. Before your grandfather died, all those subordinates were gone as well. Now, only you and I know of the orifice opening scripture's existence. Xianxia spoke with great seriousness. This secret must never be leaked. Unless there is someone with incredibly powerful means to completely control another person, the orifice opening scripture should never be taught to them. Otherwise, anyone could betray us, even blood relatives. Once the orifice opening scripture spreads widely, we will all die. Zhou was taken aback. At that moment, his daughter did not seem like a 20-year-old girl, but rather like a seasoned leader with years of experience. Zhou pondered for a moment and asked, the Holy Ant tribe has the ability to mutate. Do you know of any insects that can control others? Xianxia thought for a moment and then said, the Holy Ant's breeding method can create a type of demon insect called the heart-eating ant. Through the heart-eating ant, one can control an insect master completely. If they leak even a word of the orifice opening scripture, the heart-eating ant will turn on them and consume their heart. However, the insect master who cultivates the heart-eating ant is already branded as an evil insect master by the Holy Ant tribe. The breeding method of the heart-eating ant has been tightly sealed away, and no one can see it. Zhou sighed lightly. It's fine. I was just curious. Come with me. I'll pass on the orifice opening scripture to you. Study in secret within the Holy Ant tribe and don't expose your level. Xianxia covered her mouth and giggled lightly. Don't worry, father. How could I expose myself so easily? Zhou chuckled softly, realizing that his daughter's will was indeed firm, even more so than his own. She would certainly not expose herself. Yet, he still didn't mention the existence of the magic mirror. That was the greatest secret his father had passed on to him. He had yet to choose his successor. The only person who could know the secret would be the successor. After Lai Xian left, Lai Zhou once again buried himself in his work, attending to the heavy matters of the tribe. Chu Xian had been observing everything. Lai Zhou's abilities, character, and qualifications were clearly not as remarkable as those of the former Lai Yong. Now he understood. Lai Yong had chosen Lai Zhou as the successor because of his good daughter. I hope this Lai Xian will bring me some surprises in the future. Chu Xian smiled softly. 5 years later, in the cave world, an unexpected event occurred. The 36th leader of the fire ant tribe, Lai Zhou, succumbed to the toll of years spent hunched over his desk, laboring tirelessly. One day, he suddenly began vomiting blood and could not stop. After 3 days of lying in bed, with medicine proving useless, he passed away in the dead of night, his life extinguished in an instant. At the time of his death, Lai Zhou was only 72 years old. As a silver insect master, he should have lived to around 110. His untimely death was a tragedy, and worse still, he had not named a successor, unlike his father, Lai Yong. Lai Zhou had 3 sons within the fire ant tribe and a daughter and 2 sons in the holy ant tribe. Though the 2 sons in the holy ant tribe were not his bloodline, no one knew this. Therefore, the question of who would inherit the leadership of the fire ant tribe became a pressing problem. According to the tribe's rules, all of his offspring had the right to vie for the position of chief. What made matters even more complicated was that Lai Zhou's 3 sons were all similarly powerful, each backed by a different elder. This created a stalemate, leading to fierce competition for the position of chief. The fire ant tribe quickly descended into chaos. Holy ant tribe. Lai Xian was reading through books, having already perused the entire collection of the holy ant tribe. Now, she was exploring the libraries of various mid-sized tribes. Xianer, your father is dead. A large, muscular woman suddenly approached Lai Xian and spoke, her tone casual. Lai Xian froze, springing to her feet. What? The woman smiled lightly. I said, your father is dead. Now, the fire ant tribe is without a leader. Your 5th brother wants to try his hand at being chief. You should bring him back. These 6 insect masters will ensure your safety. Of course, there will be those who oppose, but don't worry. Just kill them. Lai Xian turned to look at the young man standing nearby. The young man was tall and handsome, and his name was Lai Qing, her 5th brother. The 2 of them shared half of the same bloodline. Sister, let's go, he said, grinning widely. That's the leader of a mid-sized tribe. I've been looking forward to this day. Lai Qing smiled broadly, showing no trace of grief over their father's death. Instead, his eyes gleamed with eager ambition for the position of chief. Lai Xian suppressed the pain in her heart and, with a calm face, replied, all right, we'll go. The position of chief is meant for you, 5th brother. Chapter 318, She will support me with all her strength plus, turn off reset. Chapter 318, She will support me with all her strength fire ant tribe. In the ancestral hall of the fire ant tribe, Lai Xian and her companions arrived to find the hall eerily empty. The real activity, however, was taking place at the martial arena, where her 3 brothers were engaged in fierce duels to determine the next leader of the tribe. Lai Qing glanced disdainfully at the modest ancestral hall, sneering, what a simple and shabby hall. Nearby, a respectful insect master from the holy ant tribe nodded in agreement. The fire ant tribe is just a mid-sized tribe, how could it compare to the holy ant tribe? Lai Qing smirked, unfazed, still, even the smallest insect has its vital organs. This fire ant tribe, though humble, is still a mid-sized tribe. Taking on the role of leader here will be more than enough for me. The insect master quickly showered him with flattery. Indeed, master, your talent is extraordinary, and your strength unmatched. Only someone like you is worthy of leading this tribe. Lai Qing beamed, thoroughly enjoying the praise. His tail practically seemed to be wagging with delight, his ego inflated to the highest point. However, Xianxia paid no attention to their exchange. She stood quietly, her gaze fixed on the new spirit tablet. She remained silent for a long time. The spirit tablets in the ancestral hall were arranged in 5 layers. The top layer held only one tablet. This was the spirit tablet of her grandfather, Yong, who had led the tribe into the ranks of mid-sized tribes. At the very bottom of the hall were the tablets of previous leaders whose reigns had been disastrous. Some were noted for their reckless building projects that led to years of financial loss, while others had caused the tribe to suffer from endless warfare, leaving the tribe weak and vulnerable. Her father, Zhou, had served as a leader for just 15 years. He had neither achieved anything significant nor caused any lasting harm. For this reason, his spirit tablet was placed on the second layer. Xianxia respectfully knelt on the cushion, performing 3 full bows. Afterward, she took 3 incense sticks and lit them, carefully placing them into the incense burner. She had already noticed that the incense inside had long since ceased to burn, and there was no heat left in the burner. It was clear that no one had come to offer incense for many days. Lai Qing, who had been observing her actions, was about to speak when Xianxia preemptively said, "Fifth brother, if you are to take the position of the tribe leader, you must show respect to our ancestors." She turned toward him, her voice firm yet composed. "You bear the Lai surname, and as such, you must offer incense and bow before our father, grandfather, and all the ancestors. No matter what you may think in your heart, the proper rituals must be observed." Lai Qing was momentarily speechless. After a moment of reflection, he realized that, despite Lai Zhou being his nominal father, if he wanted to assume the position of leader, he would indeed need to put on a facade. "Thank you for the reminder, sister," he said, somewhat begrudgingly, as he followed her example, bowing 3 times and offering incense. Just then, the sound of footsteps echoed through the hall, and someone entered. The 3 sons of the former chief have been fighting among themselves for the leadership, and it's been a long time since anyone has come to offer incense. Yet, here you 2 are, newcomers to the Fire Ant tribe, and you immediately come to show respect. The voice trailed off, laced with quiet disappointment. Xianxia and Lai Qing turned around to see an elderly man with snowy white hair standing behind them. "Who are you?" Xianxia asked. "Chen Pei, my father was Chen He," the old man replied. Xianxia's eyes widened in surprise, and she quickly bowed deeply. Xianxia pays her respects to the Grand Elder. Chen Pei smiled warmly. "Ah, so you're Miss Xianxia." He then glanced at Lai Qing and asked, "And this must be?" Xianxia introduced him, "This is my 5th brother, Lai Qing." She shot a quick look at Lai Qing. Lai Qing understood immediately and adopted a respectful posture. Lai Qing pays his respects to the Grand Elder. Chen Pei observed Lai Qing's tall and handsome appearance and nodded slightly. Looks, after all, were an important factor when judging a person's potential. Chen Pei. Xianxia's mind quickly recalled information about him. After her grandfather Lai Yong's passing, Chen Pei had assumed the position of Grand Elder. He had been personally trained by Lai Yong and was known for his impartiality. He never sided with anyone, which made his support highly coveted. Whoever gained his backing would be almost guaranteed to succeed as the next tribe leader. Chen Pei smiled. "Miss Xianxia, have you come to pay your respects, or?" Xianxia glanced at her 4th brother, then said, "5th brother, Lai Qing, is also a son of my father. I've returned to help him claim the position of tribe leader." She paused, then added, "Mother knew of this and sent 6 insect masters from the Holy Ant tribe to escort us." She introduced, "This is Golden Insect Master Xianxia, also my mother's elder brother." Chen Pei raised an eyebrow and looked at Xianxia. "A Golden Insect Master? A pleasure to meet you." Xianxia merely nodded slightly but did not respond. Chen Pei didn't mind. After all, there were only 4 Golden Insect Masters in the Fire Ant tribe, and for someone to be sent to escort Xianxia and Lai Qing, they had dispatched a Golden Insect Master. This showed that the Holy Ant tribe had already considered the position of tribe leader to be as good as theirs. Sar the novelfire.net ** website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Chen Pei spoke slowly. According to the rules, Lai Qing is indeed eligible to inherit the position of tribe leader. But Lai Tang, Lai Song, and Lai Yuan are also competing for the leadership. Only those who can make a significant contribution to the tribe will be worthy of the position. This is a rule set by our ancestors. Lai Qing frowned slightly, his expression clouded with confusion. What does this mean? I am from the Holy Ant tribe. My mother is the granddaughter of the 5th elder of the Holy Ant tribe. My uncle is a golden insect master. And yet, you're telling me I don't have the qualifications to be a tribe leader? What nonsense is this? Kill. The murderous intent in Lai Qing's heart surged as he was about to speak. But Lai Xian smiled and interrupted, if my 5th brother can resolve the conflicts between the 3 older brothers, turn the tribe's fortunes around, and within 5 years, double the size of the sulfur pool. Would the Grand Elder be willing to support my 5th brother's succession to the position of tribe leader? Chen Pei's expression shifted in surprise. This Lai Xian had only just returned, yet she saw through the Fire Ant tribe's current situation with a single sentence. How could she, who had been absent, understand the tribe's affairs better than him, the Grand Elder? Chen Pei spoke seriously. If those 3 things can be achieved, I, Chen Pei, will definitely support Lai Qing as the next tribe leader. I swear by my word, I will not go back on it. Lai Xian nodded calmly. Good. Please remember your words today, Grand Elder. She then signaled for Lai Qing and the others to leave. As they stepped out of the tribe's ancestral hall, Lai Qing, still stunned, spoke up, Sister, these 3 tasks. The first one is easy enough. We can just use force to stop my 3 older brothers from fighting. The second one is also doable, as long as we get money from Mother. But the third one? I've heard that expanding the sulfur pool by half would require at least 50,000 silver insect crystals. I'm afraid Mother doesn't have that much money. Lai Xian smiled lightly. I have a way. 5th brother, for now, you just need to wait. When the time comes, your sister will personally send you to the tribe leader's seat. Lai Qing was deeply moved. Sister. You're so good to me. Since he could remember, Lai Xian had always been kind to him, saving the best food and toys for him. She never competed with anyone, and her only hobby was reading. Now, she was taking care of everything, making all the arrangements for him. How could he not be touched? Lai Xian said calmly, remember this, don't resort to violence, or the tribe will definitely resist you. Those who use violence to rule will eventually be overthrown. Lai Qing, still somewhat confused, nodded and watched Lai Xian walk away. Xianxia, looking at Lai Xian's retreating figure, sighed with some admiration. Qinger, your sister is remarkable. If she were a man, she could easily take the position of tribe leader. No one would have any chance against her. Lai Qing chuckled, but she is my sister. She will fully support me. Xianxia nodded. Yeah, Chapter 319, The Ancestral Law Cannot Be Changed Plus, Turn Off Reset. Chapter 319, The Ancestral Law Cannot Be Changed in the Fire Ant Tribe's martial arts arena. The air was thick with tension. Lai Xian arrived just as the place was ablaze with activity. Lai Tang, Lai Song, and Lai Yuan stood on the sidelines, their subordinates engaged in a chaotic battle. The 3 factions were evenly matched, each trying to claim the position of tribe leader. None of them were willing to give an inch, which had led to a prolonged stalemate. The moment Lai Xian stepped in, she immediately caught the attention of all 3 brothers. Lai Tang, the eldest, stared in surprise. Xianer? Is that you? It had been 5 years since Lai Xian returned, and they had seen her back then. But now, after such a long absence, the once lively and youthful sister seemed much more mature. However, her petite frame had not changed, she was still slender and delicate. According to the traditional mindset of the cave world, the ideal woman's body was one that was strong and plump, with ample curves, much like their mother's robust figure, which was considered the ideal for childbearing. Xianxia, with her slender form, was not what most people would favor. All three brothers approached her. "Fourth sister, you've actually come back," Song said with a hint of nostalgia. "Xian'er, it's good that you're back. Don't stay in the holy ant tribe anymore. It's better here in our fire ant tribe, far better than any place else," Yuan said with a deep voice, his tone earnest. Xian glanced at her three brothers, all of whom had fiery tempers, but their faces were now filled with surprise and perhaps a bit of confusion. She couldn't help but smile faintly. "I brought fifth brother back with me." The three brothers froze. Fifth brother? They could not accept that child. While outsiders might not know the details, they, as sons of the tribe leader, knew full well about the minor conflict between their father and his official wife. The two younger brothers, fifth and sixth, were not their father's biological sons. They were only considered his children in name, but their maternal family came from the Holy Ant tribe. It was an uncomfortable truth that they couldn't deny, but they kept silent about it because it was not a topic that could be openly discussed. "Still not done fighting?" Xian asked, raising an eyebrow. "At this rate, how long are you planning to fight?" She shook her head slightly. Tang spoke calmly, "We will keep fighting until they submit. Only the one with the strongest fist can inherit the position of tribe leader." Song sneered, "You have more subordinates, so you're just playing the numbers game." "But my subordinates are stronger than yours." Yuan scoffed, "Eldest brother, second brother, you're both wrong. Yes, the one with the strongest fist can become a tribe leader, but the number of heirs matters too. You two only have one heir each, but I have four." In the blink of an eye, the three brothers were at each other again. Xian knew that none of them were inherently bad. It was just that their vision had been clouded by personal interests. That was why they remained locked in a stalemate. Dealing with these three brothers was simple: beat them. Beat them until they yielded. With a determined look, Xian rolled up her sleeves and raised her hand, summoning two giant ants to join the fray. Each of these ants was as large as a small mountain. The moment they charged in, it was like a tiger entering a flock of sheep. Everything in their path was sent flying. All the magical insects were knocked back violently, and the unsuspecting insect masters were sent soaring through the air, their faces filled with horror and disbelief. As the dust settled, the crowd took a moment to focus and realized that the small, delicate figure standing in the center of the battlefield was none other than a woman. Tang, Song, and Yuan quickly snapped out of their daze. Xian had actually charged in. "Come on," she called out mockingly, her voice dripping with challenge. "Aren't you all skilled fighters? Isn't this fire ant tribe full of brave warriors? Why can't you even beat a single woman?" She surveyed the battlefield, her eyes flashing with disdain. Her raised brow was full of provocation. The insect masters were immediately furious. "Damn it! How dare this delicate woman taunt us? Brothers, attack! Beat her down!" The insect masters unleashed their insects all at once. At least 20 fire ants charged toward Xian in a coordinated assault. "Stop!" Yuan shouted in alarm. Xian sneered. "Stop? What for? They're just a bunch of useless pests." With a firm stamp of her foot, the giant ant on her left sprayed a cloud of purple mist from its mouth. The mist spread quickly, enveloping the attacking fire ants in seconds. The fire ant swarm's momentum immediately faltered. The insects staggered, their movements slow and erratic, as though they were drunken. Within moments, they collapsed to the ground, disoriented and dizzy. Xian gave a swift jump, landing on the back of the other giant ant. "Speed up! Charge!" she commanded. At her order, the giant ant barreled forward, crashing through the remaining fire ants. The few that were left had no power to stop the assault and were sent flying in all directions. If the first wave had been a surprise attack, then this time, it was clear, it was a sheer difference in power. The insect masters lay sprawled on the ground, their eyes no longer filled with contempt but full of awe. Such strength! The three brothers, Lai Tang, Lai Song, and Lai Yuan, were also stunned. How had their little sister gained such power in the years they had been apart? They could tell that these two giant ants were likely close to reaching the golden level of strength. Would you three be willing to spar with me? Lai Xian called out, her voice light but full of challenge. My two giant ants are formidable, but to make it fair, how about I fight you all hand to hand, without using any magical insects? Perched on the back of one of the giant ants, Lai Xian laughed aloud. CTH Novel, Azure.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Lai Yuan rubbed his wrist and grinned wryly. It seems our little sister is no slouch after all. I'll go first, he declared, rushing forward. But in less than a dozen breaths, he was kicked several zhang away by Lai Xian. Blood sprayed from his mouth as he crashed to the ground. Lai Song's eyes widened in shock. I'm next. Before he could even blink, Lai Xian's punch hit him square in the chest. He was sent sprawling, unable to rise for a long time. Lai Tang narrowed his eyes. Xianer, you're strong, but you can't defeat your elder brother. Then we'll have to see. Lai Xian coldly retorted. Lai Tang's frame was more massive than his brother's, even larger than Lai Song and Lai Yuan. His arms alone were thicker than Lai Xian's thighs. It seemed impossible that she could win. Yet, within 30 breaths, Lai Tang was felled by a sweeping kick from Lai Xian. From her slender arms and legs erupted a force that didn't belong to her body, sending the burly elder brother crashing to the ground. The three brothers, clutching their wounds, slowly staggered to their feet. Their gazes toward Lai Xian had changed completely. This was no longer the cute little sister they once knew. She was a true powerhouse. Lai Xian called back her two giant ants and, with a sly smile, narrowed her eyes. I've defeated you three and your subordinates. Can you now listen to me? Yes. The three brothers replied in unison. All this fighting, Lai Xian began, her voice calm but resolute, and not even a single incense offering in the ancestral hall. Is that right? No, they answered in shame. You fought and fought, disturbing the peace of the fire ant tribe. The tribespeople cannot even go about their work properly. Is that right? No, they muttered, embarrassed. Now, can you listen to me? Yes. They replied, begrudgingly. Lai Tang couldn't help himself. Sister, you're not thinking of taking the position of tribe leader, are you? Although your strength is undeniable, you could certainly do it. He trailed off, the words faltering. But as you know, Lai Song cleared his throat, no tribe allows a woman to take the position of leader. It's the rule of our ancestors. Lai Yuan nodded. In the end, it should be one of us three who is chosen to be the tribe leader. Lai Xian smiled lightly. Who said I want to be the leader? Her tone turned serious. You three, fighting over the position of leader while the tribe has suffered years of losses, are not worthy of the position. She paused, her gaze sharp and piercing. The position of leader should go to our Chapter 320, Conditions of the Elders. The three brothers were stunned, and they quickly pulled Lai Xian aside. Lai Yuan lowered his voice. Xianer, do you know about that Lai Qing? Lai Song also whispered, he doesn't have the bloodline of our father. How can he become the tribe leader? Lai Tang was even more stern. Absolutely not. Lai Xian remained calm, her tone indifferent. My fists are bigger. I say it goes. The three brothers shook their heads in disbelief. And the elders? If they don't agree, Lai Qing can't take the position. Lai Xian smiled, her expression unwavering. That's why I'm going to see the elders now. With that, she turned on her heel, moving swiftly and decisively, without a second thought. Lai Tang, Lai Song, and Lai Yuan exchanged confused glances, scratching their heads in frustration. Lai Qing wasn't even truly one of their own. Why was Lai Xian going to such lengths to push him to the top? At the residence of the second elder, Lai Xian stood before the elderly man, her gaze sharp. I'll ask you one question, has the tribe been in financial loss for years? The second elder hesitated for a moment but finally conceded. Yes. Xianxia continued, her voice firm. Then, if I can secure top-quality seed stock for the tribe, iron tortoises, earth-dragging dragons, and bull mushroom bugs, why are you still reluctant to listen to me? The iron tortoise, with a head the size of a human skull, could eat impure ore and excrete pure minerals. It was the perfect choice for many tribes that crafted iron. The earth-dragging dragon was enormous, at least a zhang long. It was highly valued for transporting goods in various tribes. The bull mushroom bug needed no further introduction. Fat, juicy, and fragrant, it was a delicacy loved by many cave-dwelling people, whether fried, braised, or steamed. These three species of insects were common across tribes, but larger tribes often had higher quality variants, those that consumed less, produced more, or had greater carrying capacities, tenderer flesh, or even tamer temperaments. With such quality seeds, a medium-sized tribe could quickly grow and become prosperous. The second elder pondered for a long while before finally gritting his teeth. Fine, I'll follow your lead. Xianxia nodded and turned to leave. Wait, fourth miss, where are you going? The second elder hastily called out. To see the third elder. At the residence of the third elder. Xianxia stared at the third and fourth elders, her tone deliberate and stern. Don't give me any nonsense. The two of you answer me with one simple word, do you want the fire ant tribe to prosper? The third and fourth elders nodded without hesitation. Of course. Xianxia's voice was firm and resolute. Then, I can secure 100,000 silver insect crystals for the tribe. Why are you still unwilling to listen to me? The third elder clicked his tongue, clearly skeptical. But, this money can't possibly have appeared out of nowhere. It must have come from other tribes, right? Borrowed money, the fourth elder added, never feels as reliable. The ancestor once said that borrowing money is a bad habit. It encourages extravagance. And if the debt can't be repaid, the tribe will lose its credibility. That's the most dangerous thing. Xianxia sneered. Then let me make it clear, I'll be personally responsible for the 100,000 silver insect crystals. Even if it can't be paid back, it's my responsibility alone, not the tribe's. The third and fourth elders exchanged a glance, and after a moment, they nodded. As long as Miss Xianxia can bring the 100,000 silver insect crystals within 2 months, we'll follow your lead. Even at the peak of the fire ant tribe's prosperity, their annual surplus was only around 10,000 silver insect crystals. 100,000 silver insect crystals, that was the equivalent of 10 years' worth of surplus. Xianxia nodded. Good, remember what you've agreed to. That very day, Xianxia had people in the heart of the fire ant tribe begin to shout out the announcement in the market. Rare treasures from heaven and earth. Insect crystal bags. Invest 10 insect crystals today, and receive 12 insect crystals in 10 days. If you don't come to collect in 10 days, you can get 15 insect crystals after 20 days. If you wait 20 days, 1 month later, you can receive 20 insect crystals. The more you invest, the longer you wait, the greater the reward. Guaranteed by the Holy Ant Tribe, no deception. Such a novel concept immediately captured the attention of the Fire Ant Tribe's people. A woman couldn't help but ask, Miss Xianxia, what exactly is this insect crystal bag? Is it really as magical as you say? Xianxia smiled and picked up one of the finely crafted insect leather bags. This is a treasure I found by chance in a wild cave. It can swallow insect crystals and also produce insect crystals. As I mentioned earlier, the more you invest and the longer you wait, the greater the return. I can personally vouch for it, this will definitely work for everyone. The woman, still somewhat skeptical, took out 10 insect crystals. I believe you, Miss Xianxia. I'll come back in 10 days. One after another, people began to invest, though most amounts were small. The largest sum was only 50 insect crystals. Many others dismissed it as nothing more than a joke. How could there be a treasure that could infinitely produce insect crystals? However, 10 days later, Xianxia honored her promise. The first batch of brave souls, who had invested in the insect crystal bags, received more insect crystals than they had put in. At that moment, those who had doubted the treasure began to regret it deeply. Seeing the first group earn money while they themselves had lost out, their resentment grew. Within a short period, more and more people began to invest in the scheme. However, this time, the amount of insect crystals Xianxia received wasn't very large. But 10 days later, she once again fulfilled her promise. The second batch of early investors also made a profit, and this time, the people of the Fire Ant tribe were truly astonished. See the novel_fire.at website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Could the insect crystal bags really be a treasure capable of infinitely producing insect crystals? The news quickly spread from one person to 10, and from 10 to 100. More and more tribe members flocked to invest. Some even took out their life savings, prepared to take a gamble. Another 10 days passed. Xianxia honored her promise once again. By now, the tribe members were completely swept up in a frenzy. All they needed to do was invest their principal, do nothing, and wait for a while before earning a large sum of insect crystals. Was there anything better than this in the world? Invest. Invest heavily. Even Xianxia's brothers, who had been skeptical, couldn't help but throw their own insect crystals into the pot. The news spread like wildfire, reaching nearby tribes, Flying Sky Ant Tribe, Marching Ant Tribe, and Corroding Ant Tribe, among others. Though the Fire Ant Tribe had weakened over the years, it was still a colossal force. These smaller tribes couldn't easily overpower it. Furthermore, with Xianxia's Holy Ant Tribe bloodline, they knew they could never simply kill her and take the insect crystal bags. So, they all chose to invest. In just 1 month, Xianxia accumulated 30,000 silver insect crystals. By the end of 2 months, the amount had skyrocketed to an astounding 200,000 silver insect crystals. When Xianxia threw those insect crystals in front of the third and fourth elders, the 2 old men were completely stunned. "Here are the silver insect crystals you asked for." Xianxia spoke calmly, her voice devoid of any pride or arrogance. "2 elders, I've done what I promised. Now, can you listen to me?" The third and fourth elders exchanged a look and then nodded vigorously. Of course. We'll follow your lead."